One. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button, Season 5, Episode 6. I am your host, Alejandro, and with me, with my lovely trash opinion co-host.
Ouch! Firing shots
trash,
already, man.
trash opinions. My
Yeah.
goodness,
Brutal.
I've only been here. I've only been here a month, and you're already calling me trash. I thought I had at least a year before
That's
I
how he
got that
shows you that he
status.
likes you, man. That's how he shows. Trust me.
Yes, you sped run through it. How you doing, Joe?
Good. Hey everyone, Joe LaRussa, Don Lionheart here. I'm doing good, Alex. I can finally talk about a big game that I put a lot of time into, and
And a lot
really
of time,
excited
I
to
would
talk
say,
about
yeah.
it. Yeah, I'm really excited to get to talk about that, and I'm less excited to talk about our news, but that's okay.
Oh, yes. And speaking of those news, joining us once again for our trimester check-in on PlayStation Land, Bryan Finck from both SG and the Super Magazine. I got it
Super
right.
Jump, yes, sir.
Super Jump Magazine.
Yep,
Welcome
you got
back,
it.
Bryan.
Thank you, sir. Good to be here for our triannual or whatever it is.
Exactly, yeah.
State of play recall. I like it. I think this is a good one. I think this was maybe not as good as the most recent one, but
Mhm.
it's in the middle of the last three, I think. So
Yeah,
I'm excited to get into it. There's some really good stuff in there, I think.
Absolutely. But yeah, I'm always glad to have you here, especially now that because usually it's just you and me, and this is the first
Yeah.
time we get like a kind of like a third chair to kind of like talk through this, even though I am not very excited to hear about. There's a reason why I get that subtitle already to kind of prepare people on. I would say that opinion doesn't include the review he did. For that, he gets a pass.
Yes,
Thank you.
agreed. Agreed.
Honestly, man, I'm gonna have so little to say on most of these things.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Yeah,
But
there'll be two halves to this podcast. There'll be the Avowed half with Joe, and then there'll be
Yeah.
the other stuff.
exactly.
And Joe will just look on in disgust and disdain with all of the things we're talking about.
Absolutely.
take a mini nap. Who knows?
We'll yell into the microphone when we gotta wake you up. Don't worry.
Mhm. Oh yes, and then so yeah, we can wait. That's basically what's gonna be our show. But this time we're actually flipping it. We're doing the news first, and then we're gonna talk about Joe's review of About a little later. But before we get into that, this is just a reminder that this is the X Bottom Podcast, Escapes Gaming podcast that posts every Fridays from 10 a.m. onwards, God willing. Available in the YouTube channel Escape Gaming, as well as most audio services around the world, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links on the RSS feed at 10yearold.com/escape gaming. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. So let's just jump in now into the state of play that just happened yesterday from when we're recording. We're going to start with the slightly positive because I'm going to leave the trash opinions for last. Bryan, what do you think of the state of play?
I thought it was good. I mean, again, there was not a lot of first party stuff, but
Mhm.
Those of us that knew what we were going to get into, that wasn't a surprise. We know that Sony's not really ready to talk about first party yet, but I was really impressed with a lot of the second and third party stuff. I was happy to see some of the things that we saw. I didn't expect to see some of them, and what we did see, I thought looked really good. There was no I don't know, what was it, cat costume adventures or whatever
Yes.
that one was. There was none of those. There was no really trash ones. I was very happy to see that. There was no, I wasn't making the Jackie Chan face at any of the games. I was happy about that. So I thought it was a very solid showing. And like you said, there was 30 some games, ran for 45 minutes. I thought it was good. I really did.
Yes, for me, it's like when I compare to the one that we got last January, which was the one that solidified like releases for like the Rise of the Ronin, Stellar Blade, give us a better look at Silent Hill 2, and a bunch of other games. I thought that one was slightly stronger, especially because it had the Death Stranding 2 trailer, and I'm a big Kojima mark that gave me that trailer and the announcement of his new stealth game that's coming after.
Maybe in 2 years we'll hear more about that one.
Yeah, so maybe yes, immediately soon, because his game's supposed to come out this year, and though it wasn't in the state of play, and I was expecting it. This one. So in that comparison, I thought the PlayStation-centric wave of the last January state of play was better. Okay. But as a state of play, that I'm like, okay, I need to know what I'm playing this year, and I usually don't look at a state of play as like only first party matters. It's like I look at my playtime as like second, third party, and second, third party games make most of my playtime, and I felt the state of play was like pretty solid and.
It was nice to see a bunch of 2025 or May or June or whatever. It was really nice to see that, the unstated, like what Xbox tried to do. You're going to play all these games this year, which of course we all know was a lie, but that was what they tried to do. So it was really nice to see that. I agree. You know what you're going to be playing this year. And is it first party? No.
Silk Song, anybody?
Yeah, exactly. Silk Song's in your point, Joe. Like Silson was shown last time 2022 in an Xbox show in their conference that was like, hey, everything's coming out like within the next calendar year.
Yeah.
They missed the
I
mark
love
3
Hollow Knight,
years.
but man, Silk Song is just it's like the last book of Game of Thrones or of Song of Ice and Fire, man. It's never going. It's fine.
Yeah.
George
I thought
R.
he
R.
had
Martin's
two more
not going to
books.
finish.
Yeah, the 2 more books. Yeah, that's what's so funny. But yeah, that's kind of like what I thought. And then I didn't pop for too many. It was like I even said it in our SG chat. It's like there's a lot of things here that I'm interested in. Obviously, interest always comes with the asterisk that it can go good or it can go bad. Like it can go either way. But I thought it was solid. I do feel that unfortunately Sony's always gonna be suffering from not able to manage expectations ever because they're not consistent with
Right.
with like what you like that January one from last year. They blew the load that I was because I remember when you were here in the show, Brian, we were talking about that was like a showcase because that was when they started bringing back the people like in front and all that. Or like that was better than the showcase that was disappointed from the previous year. So and then they kind of want to like this. I kind of like this format that they're still bringing the people in and all that, and it's still a third party show, like so they have a place to talk about it. They're always gonna be like they have to come forward and say, "Are we ever getting a showcase again?" Because until they say that, because they have not even said anything, I feel people are always gonna misconstrue. So
I think if Sony could just get away with from their fans that they could just, I don't think they would do them if they could help it. But the fans want big E3 style stuff. But if Sony thought they could get away with that, they would never do it. They would just do state of plays, just like Nintendo does. Nintendo does Nintendo Directs, and everybody fawns over Nintendo. Sony wants to be that, and that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But you're right; they have kind of mixed in the different elements a little bit. Where, you know, it used to be it was literally like watching a YouTube video, and that didn't help them at all. So they've got some people back in it now. They've got the creators talking. And then you've got the people from Sony, and so you occasionally see Herman Hulst or whoever, you know, not this time obviously, but yeah, so they did a good job. They kind of added a little bit more in it, made it seem more interactive and more fun than just, hey, here's a YouTube video, congratulations. So yeah, I get that.
And now onto the trash opinions. Joe, you fell asleep on this.
No, I didn't fall asleep. I went and washed my microwave. I didn't fall asleep. I had a dirty microwave. I needed to use it. So I just went and cleaned it while they were showing boring 2D, boring pixel art, boring racing games. Like, no, there's a few fun things, but like, I mean, I just to start this off, Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm so excited for Monster Hunter Wilds. Who is not sure if they are buying Monster Hunter Wilds right now? What is the purpose of a 3.5 minute piece of a 40-minute show or 45-minute show being a game that's out in, it was yesterday, so what is that, 2 weeks?
In the 28th. Yeah, in 16 days.
It's coming out in 16 days. If you don't know if you're buying Monster Hunter Wilds or not, 16 days before it's out, a 3-minute trailer and presentation and talk about the spring update and summer update and what's the early parts of a roadmap is not going to sell you on it. So that's not exciting. That is a very boring thing to open up with. As I'm excited for Monster Hunter Wilds, I'm going to buy this game. We're going to play this game as a group, I'm sure. Bad.
Yeah.
Dumb.
So
and then it just was downhill from there for the vast majority of the show until, I don't know, like, what time was it? 5? It started at 5, so like 5:30 it picked up a little bit. I mean, I don't know. I'm never disappointed in the state of plays because I have no expectations for them anymore. I basically gave up on expectations of state of plays when they had that horrible showcase that you were just talking about, the 2023 June showcase, and that awful one happened when they talked fair games, and I think that was Concord's reveal.
And that ended with Spider-Man too. Yes. That was after no showcase for like 2 years. So it was like such a huge disappointment coming to that.
Massive letdown.
So basically, like that, at that point, I was like, oh, so I just don't need to be excited about anything ever. I'm just gonna like, so I now walk into things with no expectations. It's just, it's probably going to be terrible. I'm going to watch it anyway. And I've had the same approach to Jeff Keighley's shows and, you know, like Game Awards, Summer Game Fest. Like Microsoft, the same thing. I know that people think, oh, Microsoft has these amazing showcases. They're fine. They're usually like okay, and they've definitely been better than Sony's showcases have been lately. But I still don't think they're that outstanding. I mean, the most exciting show of all that we've had in years was the Game Awards with The Witcher and you know all that. Like that was the most exciting and interesting thing that we've had. So I was bored most of the time with this. If I didn't have a microwave to clean, I probably would have dozed off. So, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, well, I agree with you with the Monster Hunter take. I completely disagree with the rest until the 5:30. Though I agree with you on the 5:30 in what happened around the 5:30 mark on that one. But I also go into these things always never expecting the moon, and I think because of that, I always end up liking them. I've never loved the only one that I really love is that one from last January. But also
that was a good one. I love Rebirth, my game of the year last year, and Stellar Blade, not my game of the year, but top 5, I think it was. It's up there. I love Stellar Blade.
Yeah,
so they showed some good things. I don't care about Death Stranding. So that was on the scale of no expectations. These are usually terrible. That wasn't a terrible one. That's where I fall.
Yeah, the one that was terrible was the May one, especially knowing that the big game that took a huge chunk of that state of play got killed in 11 days in Concord. But
yeah, I mean, I will say the May one was the Ghost of Yote reveal, and Ghost of Yote still looks pretty.
That was September. So. Yeah, Ghost of Yote was September.
Was that September?
Yeah, May was Astrobot.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I don't care about Astrobot either. Okay, yeah. So September.
So Brian, you see why I say trash takes?
Look, the more he talks, the more I'm agreeing with you, Alex. Yeah, I do.
So moving on.
Every show's got to have a heel.
Oh yes, and I appreciate. That's why I needed a third one because I couldn't just do like a heel in this whole time. But moving on from Monster Hunter, that I do agree with you because it's overexposed at this point. I played the beta. It's great. Go play the beta again this weekend. Hopefully the PSN doesn't go out again like it happened last weekend.
I want to get the bonuses for the beta. I have it downloaded. Is it a separate download or is it the
same one? It's the same beta download. So cool. So just keep it on and then you'll even play for an extra 24 hours. So, but that game's overexposed. They even had a showcase for Monster Hunter on the 6th. It's so much more.
I'm really not gonna. I'm literally gonna do enough to get the bonus stuff and then not play anymore because I don't.
Yeah, just wait. Yeah, don't wear it out. It's gonna be like a game that's gonna take a lot of your time on Sunday. I tell you. And I'm only speaking just out of just knowledge on that one. So
just from past experience with World. I mean that alone is enough to say. I mean I barely touched the first demo when it came out, or first beta, or whatever you want to call it, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is going to take a lot of my time. I know it's going to take time.
So yeah. Spring update and summer update. Apparently, people got really hyped about some of those monsters that are returning. So cool. I'll play them when we get there. And then starting with the real announcements, Shinobi Art of Vengeance from Sega. This is one of the 5 big games that they announced at the Game Awards in 2023, and they finally gave it shape into like a 2D stylish Metroidvania, I think it was, right, Brian? It felt like it wasn't just kind of like a side scroll.
I'm not sure it's going to be a Metroidvania, but it makes sense that it would be with the different powers that they showed and the different weapons. So yeah, but it did look like you were wall jumping and stuff on some of those vertical levels and stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Metroidvania. I didn't look and see, but either way, I mean, it looks amazing. I was not a Shinobi kid when I had my Genesis back in the day. I was all sports games. I played Shinobi maybe for a couple minutes, but I know it was a good game. I really always wanted to get to him, so I'm excited to play this one.
Yeah, I played the 3D Shinobi one from PS2. That was like a character action game.
That's right, there was. Yeah.
That cover art is so burned in my mind. It's so cool. It was like that's why me and my dad bought it. It's like that looks cool. It's Shinobi, look like a futuristic ninja. So and then he didn't like it because it was so violent back in 2004 when we got it. But yeah, I know Lord
Cognito. A ninja game that's violent? No,
I know. Yeah. So yeah, this is coming out on August 29th, 2025. So I think around that time, the Ninja Gaiden 2D game that they announced at the Game Awards is also coming.
Yeah.
So it's like the year of the ninja, they say, and it's really
it had several years of the ninjas. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff going on.
But I feel like
this medieval Japan or actual ninjas. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like this was now I feel we're in Ninja Overload, and I'm here for it because that means it's not Souls-like, it's action games. So yes, more of that. And then obviously,
could you imagine a Souls-like ninja game though? That'd be interesting.
Oh yeah, and the one that
Isn't that kind of what Sekiro was?
Yep. So 6 years ago.
I don't know.
Yeah. But literally. So and obviously Joe has no opinion of value here because he doesn't like 2D games.
Yeah, and there's a ninja game coming out later this year. Yeah, I'll stick with Assassin's Creed Ninja. Thank you. I'll play Yahweh and have a nice time exploring a real world where everything looks nice and pretty. And I don't feel like I'm 5 years old playing a pixel art game. So yeah.
Yeah. Again, tally it up for the trash takes. And but then in one that I
never
kind of
played pixel art games. To be fair, I only had a Game Boy. I never had an NES or an SNES or any of those things. I just had PlayStation and a Game Boy. So.
And I can see that. That's actually an interesting thought, Joe, because if you don't, because of course the graphics weren't great, so you kind of have to have the gameplay and the nostalgia for like the instruction booklets and the boxes. That's kind of all tied in there. Because, of course, it absolutely is. Yeah, so I mean, if you have those all memories all tied together, you probably look back more fondly on pixel art games than you do if you didn't have that. So that makes sense. That's a good point.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with you there. I think because I had a Game Boy Color, I had a Game Boy Advanced SP. Those were my pixel devices. I saw people play NES and SNES and whatnot. I have friends that had them, but my first console was the PlayStation 1, and then I had a 2, and I had a GameCube, and I had a PS3, and I had a PS4, and I had an Xbox 360, and I had a PS5, and I had a Wii, and I have a Switch. Like,
that was never in your vernacular. Yeah, you were 3D molded, basically.
Yeah, I'm 3D molded. So for me, I don't have the nostalgia to the pixel art. I actually would have the nostalgia to the boxes and the manuals and stuff, but even that doesn't, like, I don't really care about manuals or any of that stuff. And
they don't exist. Yeah, they don't exist anymore.
Right, but I mean, I don't even have the nostalgia. I should have a nostalgia for it because I had those physical games with those manuals and stuff. I just never really cared about any of that, and I'm still the one who buys the discs. I still buy physical games and whatnot more than I buy digital. Although I will get Monster Hunter digital because that's the kind of game that you want to have available all the time.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
I made that mistake with Monster Hunter World. I didn't realize that at the time that it was going to be that kind of want to jump in all the time game. And but yeah, so for me, I don't have any of that nostalgia for the pixel style of things.
But that's what's funny. But it's funny you mentioned it's pixel because I don't think this Shinobi is pixel style. This is more anime. Yeah, this is more anime.
I don't have any of the 2D, anything on a single flat background. Like it's just not for me. I mean, we're going to talk Avowed later and everything, and I'll talk a little bit of my Pillars experience. And that was hard. That was hard for me to get into being an isometric perspective like that. Like I don't really like.
Yeah, do you love? You're full 3D or nothing.
Yeah, I really am. I'm very much full 3D or like top-down map, like a strategy game. Yeah.
Or Diablo. Or not Diablo.
No.
Okay.
I played Diablo 3.
Yeah, I mean Diablo 4 is kind of similar, but good thing for us, for the 2D people that appreciate that, like this is for us, right, Bryan?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad you.
Absolutely.
I come off as blah blah blah. Who cares? Blah blah blah. And I do genuinely feel that way, but I'm happy that you guys are happy about things. I don't want it to sound like I'm trying to rain on your parade. If you're enjoying it and you're excited by that sort of thing, that's great. I always want people to be happy.
Those of us who still exist in a world where nuance is possible and actual divergent views. We can all appreciate things that aren't for us, but they make other people happy. Imagine
that. It makes you guys happy. I'm gonna go and clean exploded fish out of a microwave.
There's always a microwave. When the 2D comes up. It's okay.
Yeah, I need to create kind of like an emote for that. That's funny, like exploding fish in a microwave. So, but in things that I didn't care about, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds has you racing across dimensions in PS4 and PS5. People swear by I heard Gene Park mention something that apparently like the Sonic Racing games could be arguably better than the Mario Kart games. I've never played them. I have no opinion on that. It's funny that they announced this the same year that Mario Kart 9 is coming because of the Switch 2. I don't think this had like a release one, but I was just joking with you, Bryan, that it feels like there's like a Sonic quota that's happening in State of Place now because
Sony's trying to keep Sonic alive, man.
Yeah.
Maybe they have some cut of the movies and they're interested in keeping it alive. I don't know.
Yeah, which is funny because you would think Xbox would be more wanting to associate that because of Sega and kind of like that Dreamcast to Xbox kind of like spiritual lineage and things like that. But it's Sony the ones that got it. So yeah, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds has happened. This one that I agree with Joe. I'm in your camp in this one, Joe. This was like, whatever. The one that I'm
exciting than a 2D Shinobi game.
Muted.
Well, we all have our thoughts.
Honestly, I'm actually joking. It's really not more exciting. I am not even remotely interested in this one either.
Exactly.
So
I used to enjoy kart racing games back in the day, but then I turned 7, and it's okay.
We've grown up. So, though I do like playing that locally with my brothers. When I can do it with Mario Kart.
Yeah.
But
no doubt, I would play a co-op racing game with my son if he cared about racing games. So yeah, co-op always is a different story.
Yeah,
I'm just really bad at racing. I hate it. Like it's one of those things I hate because of my genuine lack of skill. And I'm the guy who as a kid would turn on the
brake. instead
No,
of the accelerator.
I would turn on the all cars fly cheat in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and like
Nice.
let the
Yes.
race cars fly off and explode and die so that I could just slowly drive along the track without worrying about it because I just
Oh,
don't
I
man.
like
like that. That's a
racing.
good one.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
that era cheat codes, I miss it. For like especially those old GTAs. So, but
Somewhere
one
on
thing,
my shelf, I have a printed version of the GTA 5 cheat codes. Somewhere.
yes. And
They're
then
great.
one game that initially I was like, is this Skies of Arcade? Oh no, it's Digimon Story Time Stranger. So confirmed to coming to PS5 in 2025. This is a turn-based RPG with like social links and all that. I was kind of like reading
This one
into
I'm
that.
a little bit excited about. I'm actually a little bit interested in this because I never played the other Digimon story games. They're old. They're almost 10 years old, I think, and they're not good.
I know the PS1 game. I know people loved. I didn't play that one.
The most recent one, Cyber Sleuth, Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth, is the last one that came out, and I remember like seeing advertisements and everything for it. I liked Digimon a lot as a kid, but I never really got super into their games. I don't know why. I honestly don't have an explanation or understanding as to why, but I am excited to see if this is a good one. Because if it's a good one, I'd be really happy to play a Digimon game.
Let me put it like this: this is the first time we see a Digimon game at all in a state of play. So the fact that they allowed it here should be like at least a kind of sign of confidence that they saw something
they
there.
They let Concord in it, so
yes, so that already makes it questionable. But that's for their first party.
But no, I like Digimon a fair amount, and they're fun and it's a cool world. I feel like they never really had that video game spark that like the Pokemon games did,
and that was kind of like what was missing. I have a soft spot for Digimon because it's the anime that I saw alongside Dragon Ball when we had our terrible earthquake in 2001. So this was like kind of this. We lost cable, but we had like a satellite antenna we could watch. So a lot of the Digimon 1 characters were in this trailer. So I was like, hey, I remember Agumon, and it's kind of like a evolution. So it's like I'm definitely in wait and see in this one just to see. I hope it's good because I will love a Digimon turn-based game that's actually good, especially because Pokemon is like they need a kick in the balls.
Yeah, well, my understanding about the other story games is that they tend to just not be super exciting to play. Like they're okay stories, but they're kind of bad JRPGs, and I am curious if they can fix it and clean it up. And I read the PlayStation blog post about it, and they said that they've spent the last like huge chunk of time trying to make this a better game experience for the players. So I'm excited. I really do like Digimon, and I don't know if you've ever gone back to rewatch some of the old anime for it, but they're still really good. They hold up. I remember in
Digimon 1 through 3.
I think it was COVID times when I was locked down, and I went and I was watching a whole bunch of stuff. I watched the Pokemon Sun and Moon series, and I watched The West Wing for the first time, and I think I rewatched the Digimon Adventure and Digimon Adventure 02, and I never actually got through Tri or any of the super late era but kind of newer but also old now ones. Anyway, so I do intend to go back and watch those at some point. Now I got a Crunchyroll subscription for Christmas from my girlfriend.
Sweet.
So I will be making use of that. I already use it for Spy Family, but I'm going to use it to watch the Digimon, and this looks good. I'll be excited to give it.
I heard the movies are good, so you should check those. I think they're in Crunchyroll, especially that deal with the old kids from like the original. Anime.
It's all in Crunchyroll. And I mean, outside of that, I really enjoyed the Digimon. Tamers is weird. Tamers was a weird and dark series. I don't know if you know Tamers. That's the one where the Digimon were in the real world. That was a really weird one. And then there's an even darker one where the kids go in and they actually turn into the Digimon in the digital world.
Sounds familiar.
I think that's Frontiers. I think that's Digimon Frontiers. I watched a few Digimon series as a kid, and like literally, I mean, spoilers for Digimon Frontiers, but like the end of that series is that like the big bad guy actually died running down a Tokyo subway station and got transported to the digital world, and he was really dead the whole time.
What? Okay, that's.
And he's like the brother of one of the.
This is why I don't watch anime. I can't wrap my head around it.
It's crazy. It's so I haven't seen that in forever, but yeah. So I'm an old Digimon fan who has not gotten too involved in it, and I would love to get more involved. I know we spent a lot of time talking about this one, but this was the thing I was most excited for until we get to like the end of the list here. So
so at least it's something. So it's not all trash. Yeah, you're not excited for So you're any curiosity of this one, Brian? For this Digimon?
No, I mean I literally have zero experience with Digimon. I missed out on Digimon and Pokemon. It's not my thing. The closest I've ever gotten to like Mons or like you know pets or whatever is Ni no Kuni.
Oh,
which
okay.
I loved,
Yes.
and so that's a great game.
Sure.
But that it's just not for me. It's not.
Yeah, that you have to be a specific age to hit that, so that makes sense.
Right.
If so,
But I'm very happy that you guys are excited.
yes,
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
It's funny
exactly.
because I do think that anime is something that you definitely may want to be an age for when you're first getting exposed to that particular anime itself. But I think that in the game form, you can get into things that you don't know the anime itself of if you like that kind of gameplay, because it does
Right.
have that extra hook
Right.
that you don't have just watching a TV show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
if that
agree
was
with
my
that.
kind of game, I wouldn't hesitate to jump
Right.
into it with
Mhm.
But if
that.
you don't like
It's not,
JRPGs
but yeah.
or something,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
In
Good
that
point.
situation, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Me that I kind of like we talked in one of your first episodes, Joe, how like slowly gone back to like turn-based RPGs, but they have to be very specific. Like that would be the opening for me for this one. But the one game that I was really excited because it is my kind of game, Lost Soul Aside, finally launches for PS5 this May 30th. So for people who know, Lost Soul Aside was kind of like announced back in 2016 by a single developer that wanted to do like an action game that resembled Final Fantasy 15 because he thought Noctis looked cool in that game. So he was like a single developer. So he was a single developer that then kind of got courted by PlayStation's China Hero project to kind of help him work on this project. It's been almost 10 years, and finally this has a release it for May 30th, and it's very Final Fantasy 15 coded with the way the character moves and like and like transports around, kind of like the scale that it does. Like I really like how the China Hero project style games kind of like all have a specific type of Japanese centric like grandiosity to them that it's kind of speaks to my language, and the fact that it's coming really soon, it's something that I'm excited for, especially because I want more action games that is not soul slop. I'm tired of soul slop at this point. It's like we need the pendulum is slowly swinging back. Nature's healing. So
it'll be nice to see something that isn't Souls like that. Looked at that. I really like the look of the traversal. The environments were gorgeous. It looked very Final Fantasy, Devil May Cry kind of inspired combat.
Yeah, and you no interest for this one, Joe? Because I know action games are usually more open to.
I didn't know anything about this one until you told me about it in the chat there. So I do have more interest than I thought just initially seeing it, but I'm also just a little bit more skeptical of this because it is the single developer and everything. So I this is definitely one of those I have to see what it actually turns out to be. But if it turns out as cool as it could be, this would be a fun one. This would be cool because I actually really like 15. 15 is my first Final Fantasy. I know it's not perfect.
It was mine too.
It's not perfect. I know there's criticisms of it, and it's valid criticism of it. I actually waited like years to play it. I didn't play it until 2019 or something. I waited a long time to play it, and so I got to play like the better version of it or whatever.
You play the finished version.
Yeah, I played the finished version. So I have an affinity for 15. So if this turns out to be the quality that it could be, it could be good. I have more faith in Digimon Story being a good
better
game than I do in this one because I don't know anything about this one.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely like just on personal tilt. It's like I have my eyes on this one. Let's hope it's good. So
where'd you hear about it for the first time?
Years ago.
Not when, where did you see it? Where was it?
It was like, I think it was at IGN, I think. It was something like that. It's like it was a while ago. This thing has been cooking for a while. So this was supposed to be a PS4 game. So it's like they became a PS5 game because it's been 10 years almost.
Fair enough.
Damn time. So then we got kind of like some quick announcements like in this chunk where it was like the Yakuza like a Dragon Pirate game is getting a demo that was immediately released.
Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Yes, whatever it is called. It's like such a lot. The pirate, yes. And you can download that demo. I downloaded it. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm gonna try it after we finish. We finished recording this. Then we got another Dave the Diver crossover. We got the Godzilla one last year. Now we got one that they're crossing over with Yakuza.
Dude, the Godzilla one was so good. If this thing is half that good, the Godzilla one was amazing.
Yeah, I can't wait because I think they're making it like a brawler, like a Streets of Rage kind of brawler with this one.
Streets of Rage style.
Yeah, and then they announced the Splitgate 2 Alpha that I think is coming out later this month. So for people that don't remember, Splitgate was the Halo / Portal style shooter that came out like in 2021. That was like a quick hit that then they stopped supporting like really quick because they kind of wanted to. They grew up to. I remember it was like it grew so big beyond what they could do that they rather do like a better game instead.
Yeah,
As
they took it down to relaunch it as a higher quality and have a better pipeline, I think is what it was. They didn't have the capacity to develop as much as they needed to make it successful.
So let's see if people still take to it, because it's like they took it down right when it was like super hot. So, and then WWE 2K25 is adding a social sandbox on the PS5 and not PS4 that is very similar to the NBA 2K sandbox that makes a ton of money. They really it makes a ton of money. So that game's gonna become a microtransaction nightmare for those who play.
Honestly, I already thought it was. I didn't realize that they didn't have like microtransactions in the WWE games.
Yeah.
I was unaware of that. I just kind of figured that anything 2K made that was sport related, sports entertainment related, had it. Yeah, I never played any of these new WWE games, so I don't have too much interest in this one as it is. But I
need to try
really
them.
Liking the SmackDown ones. And stuff.
Yeah, I need to try them because we have one in PS Plus. They gave us randomly.
Yeah, if it was in Plus, I probably have it.
Yeah,
I downloaded and played the AEW wrestling game the other day for 10-15 minutes, and it was good. I mean, I haven't played a wrestling game in 20 years probably, and maybe 25, and I mean, it was good enough. I played it, I beat some guys up, I did a couple finishers, and I'm like, all right, I've had my fill of wrestling for another year. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I heard the wrestling itself was good. I heard that like the story mode and the interactivity and that side of things was really bad. Like the sell of
I mean, if you're gonna get a game right,
story.
If you're going to get a game right, and the gameplay is where you want to get it right, theoretically, but fans of wrestling are so into the stories that they probably don't love that. So.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It's more important than you would expect.
Yeah.
It's like the FIFA storyline or the EAFC storyline or the MLB The Show storyline. Like those, there's no storyline there. You know, even when what was that? Didn't they try to do a Madden storyline or something?
I thought it was NBA.
They had a story mode,
yeah, like that was terrible, but no one cared about that part. So,
well, people care about the gameplay because Madden hasn't changed gameplay in 10 years.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the problem.
Probably got more hate for that than they
and they didn't fix the gameplay.
That's so funny. I remember when FIFA tried to do like a more like inside baseball, not baseball, but kind of like a more inside the coach experiences, like 2017. And I know NBA, one of the NBA 2Ks from like 2015, 2016 had a Spike Lee like directed kind of like as story mode. So it was weird.
Still like take your player in the EAFC games and like turn them into a manager or something after you've like played a season.
That's cool.
And as like an option as an alternative manager mode. I don't know how fleshed out that is. I didn't play this year's soccer,
so those were kind of some quick bites, and then we got a Borderlands 4 gameplay reveal because we have not seen the gameplay yet, and that game is
like Borderlands.
Yes,
it does.
That's what's so funny. It looked like a more vertical inspired Borderlands. You see like the characters kind of jumping around more than
I thought the same thing. I thought it was like looking at Doom Eternal cross Borderlands. It was very, very much like that, which is cool if you like that. And I do. I like verticality in games, and I'll probably play it. I skipped 3 completely. I love Borderlands 2. 3 I completely missed, but I might have to go back to it. But this looks good. I mean, this looks if you like jumping around in that kind of gameplay and more Doom Eternal versus Doom 2016, then you'll probably like it.
Yeah, and I would say that skip 3, go straight to this one. Let's just put it that way.
I've heard that generally, but
yes. And they're also giving it a dedicated state of play. So they're giving it the Hogwarts Legacy treatment from like 3 years ago. Yeah. So it's like,
let me tell you, there's nothing I want to watch than those two Randys just say Randy back and forth for 40 freaking minutes. That was ridiculous. I'm sorry. I wanted to stick my head through a mirror with those guys talking. I mean, geez.
Yeah, my head was actually in the microwave at that point, so I was very tempted to close it.
I would have turned it on if I was in your situation.
Yeah, so
I'm like 80% certain that they hired that extra Randy just so they could make that joke at some point in the future. That's totally something Randy Pitchford would do, is just hire someone named Randy and put him in an important role.
Oh yes, especially now that we know everything about Randy Pitchford for good and ill. And I think the only thing that interests me about this release date is what it does say about GTA 6, because it's like I would have pegged the GTA like release date starting from like September onward. So at least if GTA 6 is still this year, I think that shows in November at this point, or like late October for like they did for Red Dead. That's kind of like the only thing that
Red
really
Dead was October,
October 27th.
If I'm a game developer, I mean, you got to pick a date, and
at this point,
it doesn't matter if you release in the same decade as GTA 6, you're going to get run over. I mean, there's just no avoiding it. So just put the damn game out. I don't know.
The funny thing is, GTA is obviously the gorilla, the 800-pound gorilla in the room and all of that. So I understand people having fear of being around it, but have you seen February?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not like these developers releasing games are ever really releasing them at a point when they have this huge window all to themselves. Like
Those days
that
have
doesn't
passed,
happen.
you know.
Yeah.
Those were the days when you had 3 games, 4 first party games, maybe in a month that came
Right.
out across every console.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Then you could
right.
choose and pick your spots a little.
And
Yeah.
so you're now you're just hoping that your game does enough to get people. It's like, yes, this is coming out, but also buy this one. Like that's really all you have to do is hope that your game is enough to be the also bought.
Yeah.
Because there's always that bigger game, there's always that better game out there, unless you're that GTA 6, unless you're that Monster Hunter Wilds, honestly, it's so interesting because this month, between Kingdom Come at the start and Monster Hunter at the end and Yakuza
in the middle,
Yakuza in Hawaii in the middle, Avowed is the game that kind of gets squeezed, and Avowed is the one that it doesn't matter because they have the Game Pass badge, because they're Game Pass, so you don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah. Because
before we go farther, did you guys notice they're calling the PlayStation Plus game catalog now?
Yes.
They always called it game catalog. I did notice they emphasized it more than normal, but they've always called it the game catalog. Like that's if you have it, it's everywhere on the page. Like,
but now they're using it as a noun, like a proper noun. It's
they're pushing
game catalog.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like,
yes, the proper nounification of it. Yes. That's true.
Really, really interesting with that. So at least now we got an idea where the window might be, because remember, Mafia should be this summer. We still don't know that they released it for that one, but it was spec for the summer. So it's like,
I think I'm guessing that's probably a June game. If I were saying, I'd say that's like end of June or July.
I hope it's July. That's And then after that, we got to see Directive 8020, which I think we have seen kind of before, which was like the horror, the kind of space horror game from the Until Dawn creators. So obviously, like if you played any of the Dark Pictures anthology from them, or even Until Dawn, is like these are that old school Quantic Dream style, like choice-based adventure, now in a horror space. If you're like into that, most games are usually pretty much the same, and that I tend to like that once in a while, and I think this one at least looks better than some of the ones that I've seen.
It does,
and
I'm hoping they're getting a little better than the Dark Pictures anthology, because those were not great, but this looks...
I just wish they weren't horror games, because I like those choice-based Quantic Dream games. Like I really like Heavy Rain, and I really enjoyed
Detroit.
Yeah. And I don't do horror, so having horror games be like what they do is it's just disappointing. Also, quick side note, Mafia 2 came out in August and Mafia 3 came out in October, so they have released in that summer, late summer, early fall window in the past. So.
Yeah, and if it just kind of with that, Mafia will release not in GTA year, so that should be like fun musical culture they're gonna do with the release dates on that. But I think this looked cool. But I think this is gonna be like a wait for a Halloween sale. I can see they're gonna do like a big Halloween sale for this one, because they usually tend to do that like on the 31st, and fun one to play with friends, because I will never forget playing Until Dawn with my college dorm group. Like everyone together, we're all making it was super fun. Like we started playing at midnight and we finished Until Dawn. Nice. So we just sped through it on a weekend. So yeah, that's coming out on October 2nd. And also it wouldn't be a state of play without Five Nights at Freddy's. So we got another Five Nights at Freddy's called Secret of the Mimic on June 13th. This was like every time I see Five Nights at Freddy's, it's like, yes, I know this is big, I don't care. But hey, the Five Nights at Freddy's fans, you get your Secret of the Mimic on June 13th soon. Go play and leave us alone.
Have fun.
Yes, but one that I'm really curious about, because I love the art style so much, the Midnight Walk.
Yes, I'm excited for this one
of the most striking PS5 and PSVR 2 indie games of the year comes out on May 8th. So this one, the last time they showed it, I think it was at the last State of Play. I was not sure if it was just PSVR 2 only. The way how they showed it, I think they kind of defined it this time that you don't need a PSVR 2 to play it. You can play it just as a PS5, and I'm only playing this because of the art style. Like, okay, like I need.
What it looks like. It's got some cool mechanics too, like how they use the fire and stuff, and that you kind of have the little kid companion or whatever. That looks very cool. I'm 100% gonna play that.
Yeah, it just reminds me kind of like that the Little Big Planet / Puppeteer era of the PS3. Kind of like seeing that claymation. I was like, oh man, I miss that era. I miss that era so much. So I'm hoping it's good. If it's good, it's a definite one. But I still kind of want to buy it because I kind of want to see more of this. That's kind of like what I love about gaming. And then in other weirder stuff, we have got Octopus platformer Darwin's Paradox. This is a side-scroller game from Konami, of all people. That's that it's coming. I don't know. Is it coming this summer? I think. Do you know?
Let me see. It had a date. No, actually, it did not have a date that I saw.
Yeah, I think they just said this summer. So it's like
Okay.
I don't know if Darwin's Paradox is like a returning franchise or anything, because I don't remember much of that.
I don't think it was. It reminds me a lot. You guys ever play Stealth Inc? The
I
little
did.
clone game? It reminded me a lot of
Yes.
that. I got a lot of those vibes.
Gosh, still think. Wow, the deep cut there. So,
I don't know why I played that one back in the day. I was just jonesing for a stealth game. I'm like, oh, this has
I know why. I know why. It was a PS Plus drop. That's why you played it.
Certainly the case.
Yeah. So, and then we got a shadow drop from Koei Tecmo, Warriors Abyss, a Hades-like in the Dynasty Warriors universe. That is basically taking a lot of the characters from many of the Dynasty Warriors games. You can see a bunch of them from the recently released Dynasty Warriors Origins that are kind of like in this game. Now in a more isometric, like Hades-like style, like go through hell and slay millions of demons. And
I mean,
can we talk about this for a second? Why is everything in hell these days?
Yes.
I mean, I get it, but so many games are just like, go to hell.
Go to hell.
Right? I'm going.
I know things are dire, but come on, people, we gotta cheer up a little.
I do want to say, you say, from the recent Dynasty Warriors and all that, like, just so we're clear, those characters are going to be in all Dynasty Warriors games because it's a story. Like, you're never really gonna. There's no new Dynasty Warriors character that's gonna have a name and any, like, they're all they're all known.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
like, and Junha, like, they're all known characters.
Yeah. To me, it was because I recently have played Dynasty Warriors Origins. It was kind of cool. Be like, oh yeah, they're here too, and now they're in this like roguelike game that was shadow dropped.
Yeah,
so.
I kind of wish Origins was not a full price game, because I've never played a Musou, and I kind of have a weird itch to like try a weird Musou like that, and maybe I'll just play the Fire Emblem Musou that I have, because I have 3 hopes.
Yeah, I believe they go on sale pretty often, and I do recommend Origins. Origins is really good. So I would say if you need to play one of the but if you need one of these to play, I think I would recommend Origins above any of the other ones. I feel they nailed.
You mean don't play Dynasty Warriors 9?
Yeah, screw that one. So according to the internet. So and then after that, even though this was announced literally also at the Capcom show we saw like a week ago, the Onimusha 2 remaster showed up here, and now with a release date on May 23rd. And this was kind of preempted them showing us finally the first look at the gameplay for the Onimusha Way of the Sword, I think it was called, or Way of the Warrior, whatever it is, that was revealed at Jeff Keighley's show, and now you get to see the gameplay of this one. So like for the people that didn't know about like what Onimusha was,
Onimusha
it was like
4 is Dawn of Dreams. What?
Yeah.
No, that's the 4th one. What's the
fifth? So it would be the fifth one would be the one that Jeff Keighley announced.
Way of the Sword is what
so Way of the Sword. Yeah. So you kind of see that they're still kind of keeping a little bit of the style of old Onimusha that was kind of like modeled on old Resident Evil, but with a more action, like with some horror look in spots, but with an action focus that was kind of parallel to Devil May Cry. So obviously Devil May Cry was like the more jokey, kind of like high energy, like a character action based game, and Onimusha was like the more quote unquote grounded but still kind of stylish action game. You could see that there's some speed to this game while not being, they already confirmed it's not a Souls-like, thank God. There's like you can see like the character that kind of like slice enemies in like very specific ways. There's like a deliberateness to the action in this one that I'm like, oh cool. It's like that's I'm glad that they didn't go down the rabbit hole of doing a Souls-like. They're finding a new style for the action game, and I didn't expect to see gameplay this early. So I believe that's going to be like early in 2026, because this is one of the few 2026 games we saw. And I'm excited for the remaster for 2, because I never played I only played 1 back in the day, and I never played 2 and 3. And I rented 4 briefly. So, and a lot of people love Onimusha from Capcom. So
it is funny that both the Ninja Gaiden and Onimusha 2, the two of them are both getting the re-releases.
The releases this year. Yeah, it's so funny. Do you ever play Onimusha, Brian?
I have not, actually. I've always seen it as one of those like games I'd like to try, just because it's a PlayStation mainstay, and it was something that I hadn't really any experience with. But no, I think I might check out the new one though, like when it comes out. I mean, because that looks solid. Like that looks very very much Sony's third person action kind of thing. So I will definitely try that. But no, I have not tried before. And I'm probably missing out, but it does look solid.
Yeah, I hope the remaster for 2 is good. You can try that and play at least the first 2 games. I know good
point.
I think today the first game right now is $9 on PSN.
Okay.
Like the remaster, just for anyone that like, well, if you listen to the show, you're screwed because it like goes live on February 14th, Valentine's Day. So by that point, the sale will be
Well,
over.
when does the sale end? Does the sale end tomorrow?
Today.
Oh.
So when I saw, I was like, oh crap, yeah, today's.
We hope you guys
tweet
got
it out. Tweet it out, Alex. Tweet it out.
$9. So, and I think it's like 20, like normally. So, and then a trailer that unfortunately leaked last weekend is released. A Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. So reiterating, kind of this would have been the official announcement that it's coming on August 28th, 2025. Me and Brian, I looked at your list for the upcoming article that is still not live.
Oh, it was my number one.
Yeah, we have Metal Gear Solid 3 in our top 10 favorite games of all time, and it's so perfect. It's like so perfect. Yeah, like it's so, and what they're doing with this remake is like it's like 1-to-1, like in almost everything that Gene Park mentioned is like, if you know the cinematography of that original one, they're recreating it, and when you know that they're adding the new controls, oh man, I can't wait for this one. So
I still say it's the best boss collection of any Metal Gear game, Metal Gear Solid game. It's so good. I mean, a lot of people were like, we have to eat and heal ourselves, like when it first came out, and I'm like, yes. It's just so good, man. I mean, the bosses, like I said, it's amazing. It's the best final boss fight in that series by far, and one of the best ones ever, I think.
Absolutely.
So that game is impeccable. When they first showed it, I'm like, the character looked generic. It just didn't look right at all. But man, they have fixed it. It looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm more after Silent Hill 2 remake. I have more confidence in the remake projects. At least I feel like there's at least some semblance of quality control back at Konami finally, when there was none. And gosh, and I'm glad that if they get this right, I'm just excited for what they can do for them bringing the rest of Metal Gear forward. Joe has never played Metal Gear. Joe, I tell you have to play this.
Any Metal Gear game at all?
No, he has not.
No.
Okay.
Man.
So I mean, if you like that formula, man, you're in for some good stuff. You've played Kojima games or no?
No, he has not. Just
never. Okay, all right.
But he has played Yakuza, and there's like a similar kind of melodrama in Yakuza. It's very similar in Metal Gear.
I can see that. Yeah, a little self-referential kind of, wink at the camera kind of thing. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I tell you, please play this.
Just don't listen to Ains.
Yes, just don't listen to him. And then we got Hell Is Us, the game that was revealed at the last State of Play. That is like, it looks like a Souls-like, but it's more of an exploratory game. They were kind of like explaining it. So that is dropping now on September 4th, 2025. So
interestingly enough, I got a few Metal Gear vibes off of that too, because the weird-looking character dude with the big face, and like the cutscenes looked a little Kojima-esque. Like I got those feelings from that too. So either way, I mean that you can't go wrong with that. But just the exploratory part of that, I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, and what's funny is that Hell Is Us reminded me more of Death Stranding. Like I
can see that.
Yeah, because the way like your character has like that coat is similar to the main bad guy from the
kind of what I thought it was when I first saw the trailer for it too.
Same, and I was like, oh wait, this is Hell Is Us. So I was waiting for Death Stranding to all State of Play, and it didn't show up. Then we got the Lies of P DLC called Overture, finally announced and coming to PS5 and PS4 this summer. It took like 2 years to make this one, and according to the Lies of P super fans that I heard from, it's a prequel. It's a prequel to the main game. Apparently, they're still they're keeping under wraps how that first game ended. That people say is really special. I have that game. I still haven't finished it because I need to be in a very specific mood for Souls likes, and right now I'm Soulsed out. But what I play is really cool. It's a really cool vibe.
That's one I want to play, but I'm just not a Souls-like guy in the large. I loved Elden Ring, but I'm just not a huge Souls-like guy for sure.
Yeah, don't even ask Joe about that.
No, we know.
Honestly, I've always had an interest in the Souls games because I own pretty much all of them. I've just never played one.
Yeah, and Stellar Blade was their first kind of breakthrough, and in that kind of style.
I enjoyed Stellar Blade a lot.
Yeah. So. Now this other game, which was really weird, but it's funny seeing that it was here because Q Games has history with PlayStation. They're the guys that made the Pixel Junk Shooter games. They made this game that is called Dreams of Another. That's not like in a more 3D world, but in pixels that you were shooting like clouds. It seemed like I didn't understand.
The shooting mechanic actually opens up the world. It's like you're blowing away the pixels. Yeah, it was very odd.
Yeah, it was very odd, but I'm all for it. It's like, be odd. Like I'm not like I don't know if I'm gonna play it, but I appreciate that you guys
odd, everyone. Just go with
it. So the thing that's unfortunately odd, and of course it had to be real. Yes, Days Gone Days Gone Remastered is real and coming out on April 25th, 2025 with like PS5 enhancements. They're adding like a new permadeath mode and things like that. And if you own the PS4 version, just like Horizon Zero Dawn, you get it for free. Not for free. you get it for $10. So,
Yeah. But not the PS Plus version, the free version. You can't use that to upgrade.
yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, you have to own it to get the $10.
Well, I mean, and I can't blame
I honestly
them for
don't
that,
remember.
honestly.
I think I have it from when they gave it away during the PS Plus collection, which I do think that one counts for.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yes. No, not
that
the game
was
catalog.
giving it away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was when they did the 20 games, right? That then they took away when they did the revamp. So
yeah,
it's like I enjoyed most of Days Gone. Do you play, Brian?
I played a little bit of it. It's definitely my kind of game, but I didn't do a whole lot with it for whatever reason. I think at that point I was a little zombied out. But I played enough of it to know that the horde mode was really cool and probably will be very cool. So if I can upgrade to this version, I will. For $10, I will do it and I will play it.
Yeah.
But the problem, one of the many problems with that game was that they buried that so far down in the game. You had to go so far into the game to get to the hordes, and that was one of the best parts of it.
Yeah,
I think that's why they were like, "Here's a brand new fighting horde mode."
Yes,
right? Like
because the best part of the game, make it more front loader or at least more easily accessible. Because that game has a really terrible start, like really bad first impression. So I think this would be a game that you'd like, Joe, knowing what you like, the kinds of games you like. So
no, I don't do zombies.
Okay, yeah, because you're a coward.
I just don't like zombies. I just like the closest I've gotten to zombies is The Last of Us Part 1, and that's that's just too zombie. I just don't like zombies. It's just never been a thing that I care about.
Yeah. Unfortunate, but understandable on that one. And of the many bad takes, this is the one that I'll let you go, because I know there's people. I know there's people that don't like zombies, and I know there's like zombie fatigue is real. I did get zombie fatigue with The Walking Dead. So, but yeah, that's happening. I'll buy it for $10. I enjoy it enough, and it's enough of a slop open world that if I need a podcast to just kind of a podcast game to lose myself in and just like collecting things, it'll be there.
It's a great podcast to listen to. The X Button.
Yes.
Hey,
available every Fridays from 10 a.m. onwards.
God willing.
God willing. But we're getting better. Like we're getting better on the posting times. So
speaking of, do we have a thumbnail ready from Paul?
Yes, it is ready now. Okay, so and then other things that were kind of like quick shots here. They announced a new DLC. This time it's free for Stellar Blade, where they're like mixing it with their other series called Nikki. That is more about dressing up, and I think one boss fight, if I remember what they said. And they announced it's coming. And they announced it's coming to PC. I am terrified what's gonna happen with that game now. It's gonna be in the hands of the PC community.
There's gonna be some very interesting mods.
I already seen what they've done with Rebirth, so people have no chill. So, and then we got
Infinity Nikki is almost that game anyway, right? I mean, that game is already on mobile and whatever that you could do that too. So yeah, throw that into Stellar Blade, and it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, but no, this is not Infinity Nikki. This is Nikkei. That's what's so funny, because there's Infinity.
I thought that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, no,
this is totally different.
Yeah, it's different. Nikkei is kind of like their mobile, kind of like Time Crisis like shooter. That was
Infinity Nikki. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So Nikkei got us a victory is like Alex said, a mobile first person, like a mobile shooter, like cover shooter kind of thing.
Okay.
But it's like, if you think Stellar Blade is thirsty, this is like off the thirst charts thirsty. I can't even begin to describe it. I've not played it, but I've seen it because Gene Park talked about it a bunch of times, so I looked it up out of curiosity. I was like, what is he talking about? It's just ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous. And it's and the funny thing is, I found it funny, they were like, teams up with Goddess of Victory, Nikkei, Goddess of Victory. I'm like, but
it's your game.
Like, it's their game. Yeah, what does that mean? Teamed up with. They made it.
Yeah. They went across the hall and said, hey, let's do this. All right, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, they brought the mobile guy. Hey, put it over here in this horny game to make it even hornier. So that's why I'm terrified of what we're gonna see when that thing hits on PC. Especially
that's your headline. Thirsty game gets even hornier.
Yep. Yes. Good thing it's a good game. And then other PS Plus drops, we got The Lost Records, which is one of the narrative games. I think it's from Donar, I think.
It's the kind of the Life is Strange universe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's not that universe. It is different universe. It is it's the original developers of Life is Strange, though, in its own world.
But it's different world. Okay, got it.
Different world, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it seemed that it's more horror tinged than Life is Strange would even be. At least from like what I got from like what they showed, and
I think Life is Strange is not horror at all. There's nothing horror-y about it.
Supernatural, but not horror. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, it's dark. It's a very dark game in a lot of ways. There's a lot of horrible, horrifying things that happen.
But it's
in
just
that
not
game.
horror.
But
Yeah, it's
not
like
horror. Yeah,
yeah. And this one
exactly.
feels like, because it started with like a pentagram, so I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, it's that. So and then Jedi Survivor is gonna be dropping on the game catalog collection. Obviously, really great game. I recommend Jedi Survivor. If you have a PS5 Pro, check it out now. It's one of the it went from the worst PS5 Pro implementation to one of the best with the recent updates. So
Nice.
so if you don't have the game, definitely try it with that one. Then they announced that the original Armored Core trilogy from PS1, it's gonna be available in the premium catalog alongside Patapon 3. So the Patapon trilogy is now fully available in the premium catalog, and Armored Core finally, like, the old games finally make it now to modern times. The only one that are going to be missing are 4 and 5, and whatever the other one it was called that I forget, that came out in 2013. And another game called Blueprints. That was, how could I describe Blueprints?
It's a new genre, I think. It's architectural adventure, I think is what it
yeah.
was.
Yeah,
It took me an embarrassingly
It's on my
long
fantasy
amount of
team, is what it
time to
is. I
get
picked that
joke.
one up at last week for like 15
Really?
fantasy dollars. Yeah, because I saw all these positive like previews coming up, and I was like, think this is still low key enough, and I put more money than I needed to in the end because no one else bid on it. But I was like, I gotta grab this, I think. And then it popped in the state of play, and everyone was like, "Arr." So I was like, yeah, fantasy team.
Yes.
Nice.
And then Abiotic Factor, what was that? Because I remember this was quick hits. What was Abiotic Factor about?
It's actually a well-regarded PC game. It's a survival crafting game, like a post-apocalyptic survival crafting game that I've heard a lot about. Over on Super Jump, a couple people had that as their game, one of their games of the year. And
Interesting.
it's pretty well regarded, so I think it'll do well on console.
When did it come out on PC? Was it last year?
Early, I think. Yeah, it was early in 2024, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
It might have even still been in early access, to be honest with you, but it was a 2024 game.
Yeah, that completely missed me.
Yeah.
So yeah, completely missed me in that one. And because I'm usually not on PC. And then what I consider, for me personally, the big pop of the show. London is in ruins for new PS5 game Tides of Annihilation. This is a game also from this is a game from the from a new team that's also from China. And how they describe it, because I kind of like read like a description from like Genki, that it's supposed to be like obviously like an interdimensional kind of like invasion of London, that then your main character needs to like gather the Knights of the Realm from the King Arthur legend to kind of fight this.
This is the game that made me take my head out of the microwave.
No, it looks really cool. Really cool.
Awesome. This looked so good. I was like, oh, okay, this is worth it. This is like this trailer made it worth sitting through the rest of the show waiting for something interesting, because it looks really cool. I don't know a ton about it. I did read the Arthurian legend thing, and I was like, yep, that sounds good. This all, it just checks all the things of interest for me on this one for sure. Yeah. So I am ready. And then they had that like giant whaley creature jump out of the water over what I think it was Millennium Bridge. It was jumping over. Yeah. Oh yeah, I am hyped for this one, just to like learn about it. And obviously hype can go up and down depending on what's going on. But for a debut trailer, top notch.
I didn't see it, but apparently they showed 11 minutes of gameplay today. Because it's part of kind of like their Lunar Year kind of like promotion that the many Chinese developers are. That's kind of why we know so much about Phantom Blade Zero recently, because they're kind of doing a lot of like, hey, let's celebrate our Lunar Year by showing you a bunch of our game recently. But I think this doesn't have a release window so far. I think it might be like for next year. But if they're willing to show, but if they're willing to show like a lot of gameplay already, like after they announced it, I still gotta look that up. That looked pretty far along. It also looked too good. Yeah, it also looked too good. It's one of those games like, how is this real? How good? That looks really cool. Like,
it just says coming soon on Steam still, so it doesn't have any details on that there in terms of timing. Gameplay wise, I don't see any gameplay trailer. Let me see.
Yes, and for me, the fact that it's also another character action based game that's not a Souls-like, that this is like stylish action, yes, because say like world is healing. I care. I see
a Reddit post that says gameplay showcase soon. I don't see it say that they had it already.
Okay.
Oh, wait, here's another one. It's tomorrow. It's it was tomorrow. Is it today then?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I wonder if it's late.
We're living
today.
In the future, kids.
Exactly. so by the time you listen to the show, you probably have already probably seen more of Tides of Annihilation, but this was the one where I was like, yes. And again, this is not a first party game. I think it's gonna be multi-platform also, but I'm like, who cares? It looks like it's a really cool game that I'm gonna be.
I don't understand the hate about multi-platform releases. If you like a game and you should want people to play it. I'll never understand it.
Exactly, and again, it's kind of what I said, that the expectation that you watch these shows just for the first party stuff, I think is missing the forest for the trees.
Yeah, so, definitely.
And this definitely it was the coolest for me. Even though there were still a couple other games like that followed it, like Metal Eden. This sci-fi FPS that was kind of like quick, that I learned is from my former CDPR and Arcane developers that is coming out on May 6th.
Yeah.
At first I thought it was Marathon, like from Bungie. I think
a lot of people did, yeah.
Yeah, but then when I saw that it wasn't multiplayer, but it was more like a PvE game, I was like, ooh, okay, because I'm more of a PvE guy, and seeing kind of like that some Arcane style, kind of like moving around and being quick. So I was like, I kind of see your DNA a little bit in this one. I like the sci-fi aesthetic. I want more PvE shooters more than PvP shooters.
10 p.m. PT. Sorry.
So yeah, so that's when the gameplay is going to be shown.
Yeah, 10 p.m. PT. So it'll be shown at 10, 11, 12, 1 a.m. 1 a.m. Our time, Brian, and I guess midnight for Alex.
Yeah, so I'll be awake to see that.
Which makes sense. It's China. So
makes perfect sense. And then the second to last game from the State of Play, Mind's Eye, the new game from the from the one of the former heads of GTA, Leslie Benzies, that it's a futuristic third person action shooter that has GTA style vibes to it.
Yeah,
but kind of like
lots of them.
Yeah, that I'm like, yeah, it makes sense that it kind of comes from like from that ex producer, and it's coming out this summer. I'm like, when did he leave Rockstar, and how long has he been developing this?
It's a long time. He's been gone a while.
Yeah, so
he was one of the first ones to go. He was gone 2 or 3 years before the Housers left.
Yeah,
so it's been a while.
Okay, that makes more sense.
But still, that game is 100% GTA. I'm like watching the cutscenes, and I'm like, I've played this game. This is like San Andreas or whatever, you know.
And even the way that he colors,
so much like GTA.
Even the way he does the car. Yeah, I press R1 and see kind of like that animation going to like cover and be behind a car. So it's like, I feel like because of GTA's absence, open worlds in this type have been kind of like there's been like a dearth of this, or kind of like a want for this, that I feel if this comes out really in the summer and preempts GTA, there's like. And if it's good, it could kind of at least alleviate some of that hunger as people wait for like the big the big thing. So and I know Ames was saying that he was seeing that he thought it looked like Just Cause, and I'm like,
I didn't get that at all.
I didn't get that at all either.
Not even remotely. I just let that one go.
Just Cause is not really cinematic. I mean, you do crazy things in it, but that's not. Yeah, I didn't get that at all.
Yeah, I would have accepted maybe Saints Row, but not Just Cause. So I don't know where we got
Saints
that.
Row was a GTA clone anyway, so there you go. I mean, that makes sense.
Sorry, just a little bit more information on Tides of Annihilation before we get too far away.
Go say it.
The two main women are Gwendolyn and Mordred. Are voiced by Mordred is Aliona Baranova, who is a voice actress from just some roles, but notably a Baldur's Gate 3 like minor character. Corinna, I think is the name. But Gwendolyn is voiced by Shadowheart, Jen English.
Oh, nice. Okay, sweet. Nice. Any other info that you saw there?
No, just checking on their Twitter here. It just says it. They said right here.
Yeah, I think Genki has the other like for anyone that wants to like more like breakdowns of like what the game is, you can follow Genki JPN on Twitter. He has kind of like bullet points of more stuff from that one, and then finally, what people would say is like, oh yeah, finally.
I want to say I'm really excited for Mind's Eye. I just want to say I'm really excited for Mind's Eye because I love Grand Theft Auto. Les Benzies is. I know some people are saying, oh, it's been a long time since he made a thing, and who knows, it's a new studio and all that stuff. I think that. I mean, this is the guy that is the reason that Red Dead Redemption functions at all. I think if you can make Red Dead Redemption, which was built with like glue and paper clips on the back end, run together, and you can lead that team, I trust you well enough to put a team together.
And it's a good point because Red Dead is one of their legendary like development hell for Rockstar when they moved on from Red Dead Revolver into that one. So if he was able to kind of help stitch that together, it's like you need a good producer to kind of see it through. And then finally, Housemarque is back. They have not been they have been kind of like missing since they released Returnal and its update the year after, and it's coming back not with Returnal 2 but with another franchise. I know they don't do franchise. It's rare for them to do franchises because the only time they doubled down was Super Stardust.
It's called a new IP.
So new IP, Saros, and now with a different character that's going to be played by Raul Coley. So I made the joke at Alyssa's chat. There's like, if this is the first party announcement from Sony in a while that doesn't have a woman in it as like the main character, because it feels like
It's true.
Yes. So yeah, we got Saros. We didn't see any gameplay. We only know that it's coming in 2026. They did announce that they're going to show gameplay later this year. I'm like, is it going to be for like the next State of Play showcase or a Jeff Keighley thing? Who knows?
Yeah, you probably see it Summer Games Fest at the earliest, I would expect. And there'll probably be another
Rogue
May State of Play, something like that, with Summer Games Fest in June. So I think you'd see it probably at Summer Games Fest if I had to guess. That seems like something Jeff would want to have.
I mean, they would need to have another State of Play then, because Yote comes out at some point. They need to market it.
Yes.
True.
And the Hiroki Totoki mentioned, they reiterated both Yote and Death Stranding 2 are their games for this year when they start like the new fiscal year in April. So they got to talk. At least here's the thing: they hit State of Plays around the same time almost all the time. There is a pattern now. Like if you really notice it. Whether they're good or not is a different question, but there is they have hit that pattern.
Yeah, exactly. They have them, whether they need them or not, or whether they have anything to show. They have them.
The third parties definitely need them, because that's what fills up a lot of these. There's almost 30 games that we talked about. What do you think of how Sarah's looked? Were you being a Returnal, Brian?
I've played it a little bit. I really wanted to go back to it. I played it for probably 2-3 hours, way after it came out, and I really like it. It's just one of those ones that for whatever reason I just never picked up. But until then, but no, I really liked it. And so not knowing anything but the fact that it's a story on a world where you're dying all the time, which is basically the Returnal formula. I don't see how Housemarque can go wrong, to be honest with you. I trust Housemarque implicitly. I've played some of probably every game they've made, at least a little bit, and I trust them very, very much. So yeah, I think it'll be great. Regardless of who the character is, what the story is, I don't see how you can go wrong with that. Yeah. So I'm all in on that whenever it comes out.
I like how more surrealist it looks compared to like a Returnal, because Returnal was definitely very Geiger inspired in Alien. This one feels like more hellish.
Hey, there we are, back in hell again.
Back in hell again, but it's like but I kind of like that when he's like aiming at that monster that kind of was like they look very eldritch. So I was like, okay, I mentioned it kind of every time I come back I was like, there's a loop. That's it. It's kind of like the Returnal inspiration.
Yep.
But
it's like, Returnal light, the sequel, a new IP Returnal, whatever you want to call it, but it's definitely inspired by that.
Yeah. And then now this adds to the list of first party games that we kind of know still exists after the kind of the killing spree of the live service games.
The Purge.
That include Intergalactic, Ghost of Yote, Death Stranding 2, Wolverine, and this one. So at least that's 5 that could come out from here until the PS6.
And we know Santa Monica's working on something, but what that's going to be, I don't know.
Yeah, the new Cory Barlog IP that we know he mentioned.
Talk about games we've heard about for years. I mean, Christmas.
Yeah, he said it in 2021. That's what's fun. But we know that he's been working on that. That was not God of War. So I know a lot of people, the thing that disappointed them a lot about the State of Play was the fact that there was like rumors that the Greek God of Wars were gonna be
I saw that. Yeah, that seems a little early, doesn't it?
To
know about that? Doesn't that seem a little early to know?
Yeah. Kind of like the rumor was that they were gonna remaster, because this is the 20th. Okay, so this is the 20th anniversary of God of War as a franchise, because 2005, March 2005 is when the original came out. So everyone was like, are they gonna celebrate? Is that how they're gonna celebrate? Bring back the old games because they're not available other than God of War 3. So
I don't feel like that's something that you can be like, hey, here's what our first party studio is working on. Like that's got to be, whether that's Bluepoint or whatever. I don't feel like you can satisfy anyone by saying, hey, Santa Monica's doing this, and it's just glorified remasters. Like,
that would be horrendous if that's kind of what they did.
I mean, what's the talk? They're going to send Kratos to Egypt next or whatever. That could be a side project, but that can't be what your main project is for a first party.
Yeah, I know the rumor is that they for sure gonna do God of War Egypt, because like they put out sites for like voice actors, and they have like Egyptian kind of like inspired.
I hadn't heard that. Okay.
So at least that's some of the rumors that I said, but again, I take that with a grain of salt. Yeah. But that's been kind of like, okay, Norse mythology is done with God of War and Ragnarok. Yeah. So
you've done Greek, you've done Norse. Go wherever else you want to go.
It's either Aztec. It can be Aztec gods. It can be like Egyptian gods. or then you leave to Christianity,
Yeah.
which is not going to be controversial or whatsoever.
We should send him to Japan, where everything is a spirit and a god, like trees
Yeah.
are gods. You know, then he has to just destroy everything.
Or you send him to China, send Kratos to the journey to the west.
There you go.
Yeah, like a Black Myth Wukong was basically if it was not like a Souls, like that would be literally God of War like Japan, like God of War China. Like it fits so well with like that theme. So, and that was a state of play. So a really meaty one, a decent one. Like I had enough like for the things that I'm interested in. Kind of like, oh, I'm interested in that. Like Shinobi was that. Digimon Story was the other one. Lost Soul aside. Glad Borderlands has its release date. I directed 8020. It looks interesting to me. Midnight Walk, that's another one. Both Onimusha things, I'm all for that. The Tides of Annihilation, the Metal Eden, Mind's Eyes, and even Sorrows. I usually hope to walk away of these things at least with 3 minimum. That's kind of like, if I can get at least 3, it's not a complete waste of my time.
Yeah,
I got like almost 10, so it's like that's why I'm like.
It's not my stance. 3 is not enough. 4 is not enough. You need like half. It needs to be half.
I got 10, so that's more. That's
a third.
Yeah. So
I did see before we move on to next things. It looks like the embargo for Pirate Yakuza is February 18th. So.
Damn.
Okay.
It's gonna be earlier in the game. Yeah. So people must have been playing it already. If it's not like a super.
Gene Park posted on Twitter. I saw as I was looking through the Tides of Annihilation stuff. I saw he posted that he's been playing the full game, and the review is February 18th.
Yeah, he had been mentioning. Yeah, he had been mentioning he's been playing a lot of games. I think he also played Avowed, which in that transition over to what we've been.
Did he get a review out for that one? I don't actually.
I think he talked about. I don't know if it's preview or kind of like impressions things. Like you can look that up, but. Obviously, like now we can talk about what we've been playing. We can start with Bryan real quick. So what you've been playing?
I'll get mine out of the way, and then I will bow out to you guys.
He gave it a 3. He gave it 3 stars.
3 stars.
3 stars. He said that great in fighting, not in the writing. Not the writing is what his headline was.
Interesting. Okay, we'll definitely talk about those things. So Bryan, you have not played new stuff recently, but you've been playing like some
most of my gaming is old stuff. I mean, it depends on what we're talking about, but there hasn't been too much. I mean, Astrobot was the last new game I bought, which I'm totally fine with. But no, I've been playing Astrobot's smaller cloth-made cousin Sackboy, and I enjoyed Sackboy Adventure a lot. Like I said, there's some really good levels. Now I haven't gone too far into it, but some of the music-inspired levels are awesome. There's one with Uptown Funk, which is just awesome. I just find it.
Oh, really?
It's so cool.
Okay.
It reminded me a little bit of Rayman Legends, where it wasn't constant movement like the music levels in that game, but it was very well done with the music. So it's really cool. If you like platformers and you like Astrobot, go play Sackboy. It's really cool.
Yeah, and I think it's in the game catalog if you have PS Plus.
That's where I got it. I think from
usually goes on sale really often. So and you've also been playing Subnautica.
I've been playing Subnautica Below Zero. I love the original Subnautica. It's funny because I loved everything until I got to where you had to advance the story, and then I fell off of that because I didn't care. I love discovery. I love like environments like that. I love underwater games. Like Subnautica is the perfect game for me. So I finally got back into Below Zero, which is kind of the standalone / DLC, and it's really good. It's just more of the same. It's really good. It's more ice than the other stuff. Haven't gotten too far into it, but I absolutely love it, and I'm really hoping that Subnautica 2 is actually coming this year like it's supposed to. It's supposed to hit early access, so we'll see, but this is a good lead into that. But I love these kind of games. Let me explore, let me go find things, mine for stuff. Like, it's weird. You asked me 10, 15, 20 years ago if that was the kind of game I'd be into. Would not have said that, but no, those discovery type games are just amazing. I love them. I absolutely love them.
Have you played Subnautica, Joe?
No, I never played Subnautica. No.
Yeah, me neither. I think they gave it from PS Plus. I could be wrong because I know.
At one point it was, yeah.
It's,
I have it on my PlayStation, but I'm playing these games on PC, and they're fantastic. But yeah, no, Subnautica. If you like underwater games, like anything underwater, I'll play. I played Abzu, fantastic. Anything underwater is just great for me. I love just being underwater in that world. It's so alien. Like, I don't like going deep or diving or anything in the ocean. I'll get in the water, but I'm just like, eh. So this is probably like, living the thrills that I can't do otherwise.
Yeah.
So that's probably where that comes from for me. But any game like Forbidden West, the underwater level was great. Any game that has a water level, I am there for it. So I love Subnautica. I'm super excited for the second one and to just keep playing Below Zero. It's just awesome.
Yeah. I finally finished Rise of the Ronin. A game
Nice,
a game that has been like dominating me for like the last 3 weeks. As I've been trying to clean up some of my backlog, like in between like doing any big reviews over at SG and Rise of the Ronin. I've been like, I've had you there. I liked you at start, and then I got like distracted. The PS5 Pro implementation was kind of nice, and I have been like kind of going. And yes, Joe, their Ronin did rise at the end.
There we go.
Let's put it that way.
Through the
And,
advertising.
yes. And
That's
I would say,
great.
like, yeah, at the end of the day with Rise of the Ronin, I'm so mixed because combat-wise, I liked it more than Ghost of Tsushima because there's more versatility to that combat. It has the Ninja Gaiden like DNA in it, so it's like very flashy, very like not grounded. So it's like it's so crazy. It's like, why are there people with like rockets, like with like rocket hovers in like in feudal Japan? It's like it's so like exaggerated in many places. So it doesn't care about being like realistic. So I kind of appreciate that because it can go really wild with like you fight a samurai with double revolvers, like his freaking revolver Ocelot from Metal Gear Solid, and like these guys that have like this cannons that help them fly around and like hideous. Like it's really like really wacky game, despite the fact that the game itself is not really wacky in its story. And
Wait
I
a
kind of
sec, the character named Revolver Ocelot is called Revolver Ocelot because he uses revolvers. Is that really? That's why that's the name?
part of it. Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Yes. In Metal Gear, yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. so yeah, in combat wise, I like that, but then the story is like, I feel what hurts it is that the game is too damn long. That game I felt was ending like 5 times. It always felt like it was climaxing, and then suddenly another flash forward into another period, another year of this kind of period was happening. I was like, really, another one? You fight the end boss in this game like literally 10 times, like throughout the game. Always in parts that you're like, oh, you're it's done now. We're gonna score the like we're gonna seal the score at this point, and no, he or she keeps running away. I'm like, gosh damn it, it can never happen. And some characters, I feel like it has like an over like abundance of characters and historical figures that remind me a little of like old school Assassin's Creed. When you kind of have historical peers, kind of like historical characters kind of show up randomly in the story, then you get a little bit of backstory. Yeah, like Matthew Perry. Yeah, Matthew Perry is the first one you get like in early on. So there is like interesting kind of like historical storytelling in this one that I appreciate. So someone that's still waiting for Shadows later, but with how long it is, also not as pretty a game as Ghost of Tsushima, and the open world is very, very old school Ubisoft. Not even like what they are currently. It's like it's very.
How do the factions? Because I heard there's like choices and
Yes.
factions and stuff.
Mhm.
Is that like well done at all?
Yes, that's one of the things that I do like because you can kind of play on both sections, both factions, which is either being pro shogunate and anti shogun and anti shogunate. I actually flip between both of them, kind of like halfway through the story, almost very naturally, just based on some of my choices you make in conversation. Cool. I know the ending, how like everything turns out depends on who you side with, so that can change. Besides, like when you kill the final boss, so. Overall, I would say pretty good game, but definitely not great overall. And I actually like put on Ghost of Tsushima kind of like just to compare. I'll be like, how would I feel if I go back to Tsushima? And the one thing I definitely missed going from Rise of the Ronin to Tsushima is that I don't have a flying item, because you can like jump and have like wings that you're floating around, right. It's so stupid. It's like Assassin's Creed 2 Ezio's kind of like flying machine from Venice. And you can pop that in at any point in Ronin, and you don't have any of that in Ghost of Tsushima. It's more grounded, but the world design of Ghost of Tsushima is superior. Like, I had forgotten how well designed that map is, and the diegetic choices like are really cool. Not the keep flipping up the just for the win. That thing's annoying. I've grown to become really annoyed with that. It's like, yeah, keep flipping up the win. I wish that was like more natural. It's like, oh yeah, flipping out. Okay, here's a win. Just keep going. Like, I do like the things that Rebirth kind of took inspiration from Tsushima, like the owl thing that got into place. I like that kind of diegetic design because it's kind of like exists within the world in a way that makes sense. I like that, and I want to see how Jote evolves from that. But besides that, yeah, I also played Avowed briefly because early access is today. I'm leaving that conversation for later. Joe, you're trying Eternal Strands now.
I am playing Eternal Strands. I really like it most of the time, and then sometimes I want to close it and never touch it again.
I captured that on video. I had a point where I fell off like down a chasm and lost
Yep.
all my material. And I
Yep.
was like, and I had gotten like the high level material, and you can only
Thankfully,
recover.
I had that happen, and I had enough slots to save the high level stuff. I just
Mhm.
lost all the 1 and 2 level material. I got the 3
Okay.
star at the time. Yeah, I really like this game. It's a little clunky in its controls,
Mhm.
just across the board. Like everything about the controls is a little bit clunky. Like
It's stiff,
I
right? It feels
it's
like it feels like very stiff, like in combat and like.
it yeah, I feel as though like I don't think you can cancel out of animations. I think you're like locked into an animation, right? When you swing
Mhm.
your sword, you're stuck. So
Yeah.
that is a little annoying. And then occasionally you're running around, you're trying to drink your potion, but you get hit and you can't drink the potion when you're getting
Mhm.
hit by something. So like that can be annoying. And then what happened to me, like what you were saying about falling, is I was making this jump and I made this jump one way and it was fine. I was going to return back. So I threw an ice wall and I stuck it out just a little bit, just so I had a little bit shorter of a jump to make.
Mhm.
And I guess I hit the X button a second time because I kind of just like bounced right off of it. Like I
Uh-huh.
didn't grab it and I had the auto grab on. So I don't know why I
Mhm.
didn't land on it or grab. I just like went boop and then I fell. I was so angry. I was so frustrated at it. Um, but it's gorgeous. It's so pretty. Like all of this world, even in like the like mire environment that there is, and
Mhm.
the different ways that the environment will change with snow. I haven't seen like a super hot environment yet. I've only had the really
Mhm.
snowy environment so far happen once. And
Mhm.
uh but yeah, it controls a little clunky more than I would expect it to. Like I feel as though when I'm casting the fire, trying to like set things on fire, I go on fire.
Yeah.
Like under
Yeah.
my feet goes on fire. Like
Mhm.
why? I'm shooting the fire outward. Why am I being like it should be like 2 squares in front of me that's going set on fire. Instead, I have
Yeah.
to constantly walk backwards
Mhm.
away from the enemy that I'm trying to set on fire.
Yeah. Try to do side steps, like kind of like circle around them, like to
Yeah,
kind
like
of
circle
evade
strafing.
that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So just little weird things like that. And I know I mentioned to you separately that like climbing itself is fine. I actually think that climbing moves pretty quickly. I like that climbing goes faster and it doesn't take a lot of stamina when you're climbing, but getting on to something is a little awkward sometimes,
Mhm.
which I think is part of why I fell that time. And then
Mhm.
also the jump takes like a quarter of your stamina. You try to jump up, it's like zhoof, all your stamina. It's like, don't jump.
Yeah, find explore and find the gear that's gonna give you max stamina is gonna help with that. They kind of
Okay,
like
yeah.
they kind of like
I
that's how
went with
you
the
like
higher
overtake that.
magic. I've got higher magic gear right now and slightly higher health gear because I found that I've been hurting for health. I guess
Mhm.
I haven't really been hurting for magic as much as I thought I was going to. So maybe I don't need the higher magic gear, but I was hurting for health originally because I was taking big hits and trying to dodge. It's good. I am enjoying the game. There are frustrating moments, but like sitting here talking, I really just want to go back and play that a little bit more and like keep
Mhm.
exploring. And I'm really curious about this story. Like I have a kind of sense of what happened, but I don't really know what happened. And I think that it's probably got a little bit of a good mystery.
It's well told, right?
Yeah, it is.
I
And the
really like kind
characters
of
are
like the
good,
vibe. Yeah, it's
well
like
voice acted. I don't mind the fade outs that you mentioned in your review. I know you talk about like the fade, like you see it and then it fades. Like
uh,
it's so fast.
yeah.
It's like I blink. I blink half the time and I didn't even see the fade happen. So
Mhm.
that doesn't really bother me. I do wish I could save on the expeditions out. I don't like I can't save the game unless I'm back at the camp.
Mhm.
That's a little. That's just a thing that like because I'm coming off of Avowed where I could save like
Everywhere.
anywhere constantly. I was saving all the time. Probably saved like 1,000 times in the time I played it. So yeah, I'm really liking Eternal Strand so far. I am curious to see how it sold. I hope it sold well. I hope that this team did enough to like get their money back, and
Mhm.
I hope they get a publisher and have some more money to put into it because I think
Mhm.
there is a level of quality here that could be improved upon with some more funds
Yeah.
to make it just better and then expand on some of the things like the enchanter. I already have the enchanter max. I literally had never enchanted anything and I
Uh,
maxed out the enchanter, you know.
yeah, it's very easy to get into that loop of wanting to upgrade everything. It's really, because I feel like
Yeah,
it seemed like it was gonna be complicated, the survival element of like crafting everything, but it's really simple
it's
when
so
you're really good.
straightforward.
Yeah, and
I go out on expedition. I do whatever I'm trying to do out there. I come back and I always want to go back to Sola and check the crafting to see because I don't have a ton of blueprints yet, and I still
mhm,
only have all the mundane weapons except I have a fire bow, but I
mhm.
have the mundane like sword and the mundane two-hander and sword and shield and two-hander, and so I'm just like I always go back and see can I make this stronger? Do I have any like what materials did I pick up? Do I have enough to to make it do a little bit more damage, because that little bit more damage is really helpful. When you start the game, you're swinging your sword and you take like 3 or 4 hits to break a box. And then you upgrade your weapon and you reforge it and you make it a little bit stronger, and then it's like 2 hits and like, okay, this is better. And then I get my 2-hander and it's like everything that's not like a monster is destroyed in 1 or 2 hits, like boxes, buildings, almost. Yeah.
See if you can look up where to find the kinetic two-hander. That thing's gonna change.
I want to explore. I don't want to like look it up right now because I'm not. If I was looking to 100% things or something, yeah, I would do that. But right now, I just really like running around and exploring.
Yeah. Are you not having trouble with the fact that it doesn't have markers everywhere?
It has the bugs, the little watcher wisp. It tells you where to go.
They added that. They wasn't in the review because there's kind of like you had it always explained where to go, but kind of at least being like, yes, find the area, but you kind of like had to get close to like a quest before it popped up there, like with the yellow.
No. If you hit up on the D-pad, it has like the tracker flies from Monster Hunter.
Really?
Yeah. Did you not know that?
I did not, and I reviewed the game.
It's called the Watcher's Wisp. It's clearly built into the game. They have a whole. It's like a 30. It's like a 15 or 30-second cooldown at first to use it again, and then you get a quest from Lane, like the second. No, yeah, is that Lane or Dom? You get a quest really early on where you like gather. Oh, it's with Lane. You have to gather those things at night from the mire, and then you have to gather ink blots and those things at night from the mire, and then you turn them into Lane, and she like upgrades, or they upgrade your Watcher's Wisp, and now it's like 5-second cooldown.
Unless I skip the quest, because I know the Watcher's Wisp can like transport you back to the base, like wherever you are, the one that you hold, and then like
that's not the wisp. That's that's an item that's down on the D-pad. Go back and check your footage and see if you.
I literally did that thing like just fully exploring. That's so funny.
Yeah, you just hit the button and it'll help show you where to go.
Well, that's what's so funny, that just someone can review a game and you don't know like a basic like mechanic there. That's really
you
funny.
Literally you get the it tells you right away. It's like, do you know of the Watcher Wisp? And you're like, no, what's the Watcher Wisp? And you're like, it'll help guide you on what to do. And then
the thing is that I know that they've updated a bunch of stuff since the review came out. So.
Today, like the day I started playing, or the day after I started playing,
they increased the inventory space.
I was very happy to see that.
Yes. By the way, you heard about this game, Bryan, Eternal Strands? You're muted. You're muted.
Hey, I was sorry about that. The dogs were barking earlier, and I didn't want you guys to have to hear that. Yes. Yeah. No, I saw you guys talking about it in the Season Gaming Discord, but I don't know anything about it. I haven't seen it. It sounds cool from what you guys are talking about, but there's so many games I haven't played. That's probably way up.
Yeah, so this is actually a discount game. It's not full price. It's $40.
40 and on Game Pass if you're like on Xbox and PC.
Okay.
And it's on Game Pass. And it's from a new studio called Yellow Brick Games. Its founders are some people, but the primary one that is most important to me is Mike Laidlaw,
creative
director of Dragon Age.
Nice.
In the days of yore.
Yeah.
And he's the chief creative officer and co-founder of it. And so this is like his baby and his team's baby. And so I bought it immediately as soon as it came out. I bought it not knowing I was playing Avowed and I was not going to get to play it right away, but I was like, I'm going to buy this, support them. And then when I finished Avowed, I was like, I need to take a break from the first person. Let me go and play Eternal Strands for a bit before I do Kingdom Come Deliverance. And it's really fun. Alex described it pretty accurately as like a Shadow of the Colossus meets Monster Hunter meets Breath of the Wild combo. Except
I'm looking at the screenshots right now, and it looks very Monster Hunter, and Shadow of the Colossus makes sense too.
Except it's not bad like Shadow of the Colossus. So
add another tally of the kind of like the trash stakes.
It doesn't have stupid weapon durability like Breath of the Wild.
That I agree.
I'm not a fan of the stamina. I think the stamina is a little bit mean in this game, even compared to Breath of the Wild, where the stamina is very mean off the bat. I think this is a little bit mean on the stamina. But overall, I'm really enjoying it. Like I'm gonna, when we're done with this recording, I will go and play that. Like that'll be my evening game for tonight. Nice. And I played it a little bit before we started here as well while we were waiting. So yeah, I will get back to that and play that for a bit, and then Well, no, I don't know. What did it take you, Alex? Like 35 hours, 40 hours,
Yes,
something
and
like that?
and that's because I went down the rabbit hole of wanting to like upgrade literally everything, and
Right. And
it's
you
very
weren't
hard.
using the Watcher's Wisp.
Exactly, yeah.
You
And to be
stumbled
fair,
around for a good 5 hours, you know?
yes, and to be fair, I feel the game, like when I talk about well designed like maps, I feel like it was well designed, that me completely maybe missing the fact
Yeah.
that there was a place to guide me to the stuff. I found a lot of that stuff together. So
Yeah, I do
yeah.
wish that there was like a mini map or a more dynamic map that I don't have to open the map every time to see,
Mhm.
or
Which
a
is what I did.
compass or
Yeah.
something. I mean, I do too. I have to I have to do it as well. 'Cause I
There is
need
an
to-
option for the compass. There is a compass. It's not like the mini map, but you can have like a compass that at least will always tell you north, south,
Oh yeah,
east,
yeah.
west.
I saw that. I have that compass. I meant like a compass with stuff on it, like showing me
like a normal map.
It doesn't even have to be a normal map. So Avowed, and we'll switch over to that in a second, has like a compass as well, but it'll show you. It doesn't show you the layout like a good mini map, like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's mini map shows you the layout of the world and everything, but it shows you like stuff on the compass.
Earthquake.
Really?
Crap. wait. Okay, it was a tiny one. It finally happened.
Wow, I was gonna say, is that a first?
We were just talking about that.
We were just talking about that, if that was gonna happen at any point. So wow, I was like, what?
But yeah, it's like Avowed has so there's like 3 layers of compass or mini map, where like Rebirth has a good mini map where it's like a whole mini map, like a Dragon Age game used to have and still had too, like those, like that kind of mini map. Love that. That's the best way. Then there's like the compass that Avowed has, which is just the directional, and it'll show you stuff near you, but it won't show you like a mini representation of the world. So you don't know if you're going to go through a building or if it's like up a hill, or you don't know what's there. You just know it's that general direction. And then there's the compass of Eternal Strands, which just seems like it's a compass. Like it's just telling me north.
It's just a literal compass. Yeah.
And it's not like, and these are all circular compasses. They're not like Skyrim style where it's like a line and it changes as you turn kind of compass either. But yeah, so I really like Eternal Strands so far. I'm gonna keep playing it. I'm gonna beat the game. I don't know if I'll platinum it or anything, or how deep the rabbit hole I'll go. I have gone back and like upgraded a couple of strands that I didn't need to upgrade because just I like the fighting. I actually do enjoy the like climbing the monsters and swinging at them, especially now that I have a 4th health potion and because I'm a little bit stronger, and it's cool. One other thing is criticism is the bow and arrow is really useful, but I don't like the targeting. I think it's too slow. There's no, it's too fast. Like it's too sensitive. I think it's like I move.
It's like when you feel you have a headshot for some reason, then if you slightly move, like you completely screw out.
And it has like the slowdown, the time slow mechanic, like the focus slow mechanic, but that doesn't really work that great either. It's a little awkward. I used that a lot because I was so bad at dodging and I was getting wrecked by the Archon of the Earth, or Arc of the Earth, Arc of the Stricken Earth that you fight there, that I was like shooting out its buttons, like taking out its straps, and that's how
that's the one that hit the thing in the wall that then has like the laser that does the thing that gathers the kinetic energy, right?
That's the very first one that you fight. And that was annoying.
I love the boss fights.
So that's Eternal Strands. I like it. I will keep playing it, and we'll see where it goes. It'd be really cool to like get an interview with the
Mike Laidlaw
people. Yeah, with Mike Laidlaw for sure. I've met him before. I doubt he would remember me, but I did meet him once, like 11 years ago or 10 years ago.
I know they read my reviews, so I'm happy about that. So they
read your review, that means they know Seasoned Gaming. That means that I could probably DM them on Twitter and reach out about an interview.
It would be cool if we have it here, because it's like a solid foundation, like a great, like it's very rare to get like this disparate kind of like ideas from other games working like as close in tandem as well as they can.
Yeah, and it really does work well. It does. It works well. It just needs a little bit of refinement. I think that I don't think they needed more time. I think just a little bit more money, like a little bit more money to polish it would have been good there.
Yeah, the story of this game is really interesting. How they started with a polisher and then they went they switched to self polishing halfway through the development. So
yeah, I hope that they did well. I really do. I hope that we can see, and the world is really cool. It's a really fun world. I like the codex and reading about the stuff and the races and the monsters.
Doesn't it remind you a little bit the art style to Immortals Phoenix Rising?
I never played Immortals, but it does have that art style feel. But also that makes sense because Mike Laidlaw went to work at Ubisoft under the Immortals team for a while before before he left, and they shut that group down or whatever. They canceled the project he was on, and so then he went and started Yellowbrick. So that would make sense that there were people. I think that Yellowbrick is made up of a fair number of ex-Ubisoft people.
It's why a lot of the menu design where you're like in the basement that has that very like modern Ubisoft like energy to it. How they do like the menus and the upgrade trees and all that is very like Ubisoft coded. So
yeah. Oh, and I will say the upgrades so generous. Like you just get all your materials back. Bryan, it's so cool. You like upgrade and you build a new weapon, and you can just dismantle whatever you want, and you get 100% of whatever you use to build the old weapon back. So if like you make a mistake and you're like, I don't like this, I'm just gonna undo it and
kill it.
Build a new weapon.
I like that in a game. I appreciate that. It's kind of like being able to respec your character. I mean, some people are not a fan of that, but respecing character.
Yeah, and there's no cost. Like there's no currency in this game or anything like that. The only currency there is supplies, and you get supplies by turning in your resources, and they just like convert into supplies, and you use those to like upgrade your forge and your enchanter and your lore master, and all those things can be upgraded there.
And late in the game, the chick that you go to kind of like upgrade the camp will eventually become a trader, and then you can like trade all the materials like
oh cool.
Yeah, so like if you're like missing specific materials
that the bull Sebastian, I'm assuming he becomes something eventually, right?
Yeah,
because
he's the one that he does nothing early on, and then he does that.
You go up to him, and there's like a talk option to everybody. You can talk to all the characters with some pretty like well written stuff and well voice acted. But you finish the conversation, and it's like Sebastian's workshop, and it's like it's just this talk. Like there's nothing here. It's like what?
He becomes useful later on, and. Cool. He will build you something that allows you to kind of switch the world state of every biome. So like for example, if you need to be in a spot where it's snowing or like when it's hidden, he's gonna give you that material, but that's kind of like later in the game. So
that's fun. All right, cool. Yeah, that'll be interesting because I can see that's a mechanic here. So yeah, I'm about 7 hours in or so, 7 or 8 hours, something like that. So I'm still pretty early in the game. You know, I guess it's not that long if it only took you 35, but still relatively early in the game. I've got I think all my people are upgraded to level 3 in terms of their supply.
It goes to level 5, most of them. So you're on your way there. So so it's still $40. It's on Game Pass. So I do that if that sounds like
you gave it an 8, right?
Yeah, I gave it an 8. Yeah. And it's on the strength of how good it gets like later on, because early on I was kind of like in that 6, 5, 7
I remember
range.
you saying that. Yeah, you were saying that you were concerned about it early on. So I'm glad I'm glad to know that it's going to get better than it is when I already like it.
Exactly. Yeah, you're in a good spot, because like wait until you get all the kit and the better weapons. And some of the boss fights get really cool. Like
I kind of wish the magic controlled a little bit cleaner. Like I don't like I have to hold the magic button and then do the magic thing. And I have a tendency, like the kinetic throw, I have a tendency to hold the button, the left button, left trigger,
and then just press it and just press.
And then I have to hold the thing on the right, R2, and then I have to let R2 go to throw it, but I can't let L2 go.
Yeah, if you let go,
and I do that all the time.
It gets a while. It takes a while, because that was a part of the clunkiness that I was mentioning, and kind of like that. If you let go of something, it would start, and then the way the combat started, it felt a little too stiff early on. Yeah. But then like you get kind of like into the flow. So
I do want to ask one thing, because you have finished it before we move into Avowed here, and that's the enhanced strand levels, the enhanced resonances. Do they like really make the magic better? Because I have not noticed a huge difference.
Yeah, the ones that you get later, yes.
Yeah, because I have level 3 of the kinetic one from the Stricken Earth arc already, and that just made a bigger bubble. And I have level 2 of the ice wall, and I can't really see a difference between the ice wall.
Ice wall is like the one that I'm like, I hope they tune it later on, because on top of the fact that the way to upgrade is the most annoying boss fight with that like lizard thing. Yeah. It's the one that I didn't really see like a big difference in upgrades, but I did notice it in later.
It's the most useful one that I've had, though, because like nothing is more useful than freezing the enemies so far, because they do so much damage to you sometimes, and they're so quick to attack, and there is no animation canceling, that like I just want to freeze everybody in place for a second so that I can smack them. Because one thing, the last thing I'll say is, when you use your charged 2-hand attack, if you charge it, you get 3 attacks. If you just hit it, if you charge it up, you go bam, and then if you just tap it again, you get the same strength charge attack without the actual charge. So it's just bam, 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 You get 3 really strong hits, and then she has to recover. But you can do it again if you have the stamina for it, and that's really cool. And you get most things I can get down to like 1 or 2 hits left with that charge attack.
Wait until that kinetic one where you're able to go up and then slash from above.
I'm really liking this game. I'm excited to keep playing it. So I said that a few times now.
Yes,
but I do want to move us into Avowed.
Yes, because it's been your commitment for the last 2 weeks. So obviously, like today when we're recording, the review embargo lifted at 6 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. Eastern time. So like 9, your 9 a.m. my 8 a.m. So I woke up because I kind of wanted to see how hard the Xbox tax season was gonna hit, like in the reviews. So obviously, right now it's at in Metacritic, I think it's 80 on console and 79 on PC, and on OpenCritic, it's an 82 or 83. I haven't checked. 81. So it went down. Has Metacritic gone down? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know. It's been steady at 81 for the last like 6 hours or so.
It's still at 80 on Metacritic on Xbox, and then 79 on PC. Yes. So yeah, and then obviously, Joe, you reviewed it over at Season Gaming. You gave it an 8.5.
I did.
So yeah, so give us at least some TLDR on what you thought of Avowed. And by the way, like early access started today. I played like the first 2 hours, and that's all I've played.
Okay, so I'll first say I loved Avowed. I thought it was excellent. I want to know, Alex, what do you think of the first 2 hours? Where how far are you? Are you in Dawn Shore, or are you still on the fort?
Yeah, like I'm out of like in the initial island. And right now I'm on the side quest to go to a cabin, just to kind of give you an idea. It's one of the it's like
the first side quest you get.
Yeah. So at least just in my first impressions, it's cleaner of a game than I was expecting for this kind of style of game. Like I actually really enjoy how hefty the combat feels, because I'm used to Skyrim / Oblivion combat where you're moving and it's like you only know that there's force feedback either by the sound or like if the health is going down. There's like a chunkiness to there's a tactile chunkiness to some of the combat that I was like, okay, this feels better than I was expecting for this game, but I wouldn't say it's like the greatest thing. But it's like, okay, that seems more fun. Like I did restart my character 3 times because I wanted someone with a sword. I started with the old warrior. I don't know, it sounded kind of like a
war hero,
or the war hero, and he starts like with a spear. I was like, I don't like that. And then I think I went with the mage or something that had to start with a dagger. I was like, I don't like that. I don't like that either. And then I started with the middle option. The Arcane Scholar, and then I got the one that has the sword. I was like, okay, I'm starting with the sword.
What had the sword? I don't even know.
Yeah. It's just the middle one, so whatever that one is. So
like the court augur or okay.
Yeah, and by the way, like Bryan has to like, and now Bryan, you can leave us now for like.
I hate to leave in the middle of the party, but I'm going to contribute absolutely nothing. So I'm gonna bid adieu to you guys.
Do you have any questions about Avowed, Bryan, before you go that I can answer for you, or do you have anything you want to know? Because that was I was going to approach this with like a Q&A for you guys to ask me some questions about it, because this is really the first and huge embargo review that I've done. So I want to know if you had any questions.
No, I mean, I've seen you guys talk a little bit about it on the Discord and everything. So I mean, I know what I want to know about it. I might get back with you if I do get to it, but it's going to be a while before I even get to it. And I kind of want to read. I'm going to go ahead and read your review here shortly. But
we got the video up too.
What's that? Oh yeah, I'm gonna watch the video. Good point. Yes, good call.
Yes.
But yeah, so I want to learn about it, but I don't even have a basis right now, so I would be lost at this point. So I appreciate that.
Do you know Pillars at all?
I don't know. I know nothing about that universe at all. So that's kind of why I'm like, I saw the video 3 years ago or whatever. I'm like, okay, that looks fun, and then just went right past it. So I've got a lot of studying to do and a lot of games to play before that. So
makes sense.
Obsidian did release a lore like series, like 3 or 4 videos on their YouTube channel to like catch people up on the world if you want to do that.
That's a good idea. I'm glad they did that. Yeah.
I also recommend you can check out Morticimal Gaming. He's got a lore channel, like a YouTube channel with lore, and Spell and Shield, I think is the other guy's name. Spell and Shield. He also did a bunch of lore videos.
Cool.
These are a few years old. They were like, when they first announced the game, everyone was like, oh, let's do lore videos on it, and then like 3 years or 4 years went by, and these are all places that have like catch-ups. And if you're not going to play Pillars 1 and 2 and you're not interested at all, Morticimal does a literal story
recap
summary of 1 and 2, just all the way through, just as the whole story of both of them. They're like hour and a half videos that you can
I've heard great things about the Pillars games. It's just one of those things I know in my heart that I will never just have time to play.
And that's fair, because they're long. Pillars 2 took me like 90 hours, I think.
Oh
my
God.
Pillars 1
Wow.
took me like
Glad I
100.
dropped it because I tried them like a few weeks ago just to kind of see, like, get an idea of Pillars, and I was like, can't do it, and immediately deleted.
That's crazy.
So,
Yeah,
I had
they don't
that.
have to be that long. I
Yes.
I
do
had
all
that
the
kind of
stuff.
timing for gaming back in the day. Not anymore. No.
yes. But Bryan, thank
yeah,
you so
go
much
ahead,
thank you so much for joining me for like the state of play check-in that just happened
Us
to
joining
coincide it.
us.
Yeah.
Joining us, co-host. Us.
Yeah, come on now,
Yes.
co-host Alex. Last time I was
Hey.
on, he didn't have a co-host, so he's
Exactly.
in that mode,
I'm still
so.
used to that, and plus you're on probation because of the trash takes. But besides that, thank you for joining us for like that for the state of play discussion. Looking forward to, let's see if timing aligns well for like the May one whenever that happens. And
Absolutely. I'll be here whenever it happens, man.
Where can people find you for people like that are still here and listening?
Well, yeah, you can find me on Season Gaming over at Super Jump, and that's about it because I don't do social media anymore. So just go find me on one of the two places where I write, and check out all the good teammates that we've got over there, and you'll enjoy it.
Sweet. Okay, all right, Bryan.
All right.
Like we'll let you go, and then like we're gonna continue with our Avowed discussion. But yeah, kind of like I was mentioning, yeah. So I got out of that initial area, did the boss fight. There was like this prisoner that you can free. I free her. She came
Laura.
with,
Yep.
Yeah, Laura. Yeah, she came with me, and I picked that first side quest.
Did you steal her boat?
I didn't. She came with me, so I'm trying to play.
Well, she can come with you, and then you can still steal her boat.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know
you don't
that.
have to like you can tell her like
Yeah,
take the
the
boat.
thing that was funny when I was playing with like the old warrior, whatever at the bottom, I forget the name is the war hero. How much of a jerk you can be, like in like the might answer. I was like, he's too much of a jerk. I need someone that's a little bit more like positive. So that's when I switched to like the character that I'm doing now. Though I feel the best thing in the combat so far is magic. That's been the one that I had the most fun with. Like I felt that I don't know if it's because I'm early on with like the sword and shield that it takes way too many hits for enemies to go down for my liking. I'm playing on normal difficulty. The bow feels nice actually. Like this bow feels way nicer than Skyrim's. That I'm like, oh, I could wing a bow and arrow gameplay, like full bow and arrow gameplay if I want out of this, because it feels like it's very well tied. It's more of an action RPG than I was expecting. Like what
were you expecting?
Yeah, I was expecting Skyrim, something way clunkier. Like that was gonna be carried by its questing and the.
And how about that parkour?
I'd say
climbing.
That yes, you're climbing. It feels fine. It feels nice. Like I like that there's verticality, but at least I haven't like. It hasn't really impressed me. I'm like, cool. At least
you know the cabin you have to go to that you were just talking about.
It's like in a cliff, like what I saw.
If you don't go that way and you go a little bit further south, there's a big tower there. That's the first tower that I was like, this is just like an Assassin's Creed climbing, because there's
like
so
Far Cry. Yeah,
much climbing.
There's not much Assassin's Creed, but there's a lot of Far Cry energy in the way that you can slide around and like move. That I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, there's Far Cry energy in that way because it's first person, but Far Cry's climbing's never this involved. Like it's always just like a little ramble over this, or you know, a slight like an awkward climb up a tower. Like this, nothing about this system is awkward for the climbing. It all feels.
It feels like if there's like a slope, you can like kind of like bolt over. So I kind of do like that because it makes the game feels less stiff, even though I don't think it's like this great. This like, oh wow, I understand why in your review kind of like first draft that you forgot to kind of mention, because it just kind of happens naturally. It's just kind of like something that you forget.
It is because it's so comfortable. It's so smooth. But so all right. Avowed.
So that's all I played. So I'm there. So now, but you have finished the game. So right now, first impressions, positive. I think it's very good. I want to see more before to see like where I landed, because obviously like we've seen high reviews, and then we got a 6 and 7 from IGN and GameSpot. So obviously like Xbox tax season came home to roost, and poor Xbox got another 80 Metacritic in this. But besides,
I didn't read the GameSpot review. I read Travis's review from IGN. It's funny because I read his review and it's
very positive. It's more positive than I was expecting.
And it makes and I'm agreeing with most of what he says, except some of the minor criticism that he has that I don't fully agree with, and I had some more bugs than he did, like way more bugs than he did. But it didn't sound like he was coming out into like it's perfectly competent, a 7. It sounded way more positive, and so I really love it. Feels like
it feels like if they still did the 100-point scale, this would have been like a 7-9, let's say, like where it was going. But because it's like it's all flat numbers, it's like it's like it's really good. I didn't think it was that great, and I could kind of see somewhere because it's like I feel like what I see is very it's like a well done one of these games, but it's not something that I haven't really seen before. It's just like a really good one of these. At least that's the impression that I get.
Yeah.
And the thing that I'm excited about is the length that I've seen so many. I know you put like 65 hours because you went full completionist.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people are like, you can get this in 25, 30. And I'm like, I need one of these because I need to get back into WRPG mode. So that's why I'm excited to see. But now that's just me. Early impressions, full review. Joe, take it.
Yeah, so you're right. I did spend about 65 hours on my game clock doing it. It was more time than that because I did do a lot of reloading to like change choices or to respec to like get certain dialogue things that I wanted to get in there, you know, that sort of thing. But yeah, this game is great. It really is. It's a really great game. It is. The first thing I'll say is it's so well written. I've seen some criticism about the writing. I don't see that criticism at all anywhere, and I don't mean it like, oh, it's you know, it makes sense. I think it's a fun story. I said in my review, it's not the story that you're gonna not see coming. You're probably gonna see the twists and the turns coming in the story, but it's still an interesting story nonetheless. And as someone who does love Pillars, and so I said earlier I talk about Pillars. I love the Pillars games. I think they're good. I don't think they're great. I think they are probably like 7s for me because I'm not a big isometric fan. I'm not a big CRPG fan, although that has grown. My appreciation and enjoyment of CRPGs has grown. I think that they are really good games, and this is just like a 3D version of that. And so to me, this is better than those games are. However, switching from the isometric single perspective without, you know, some of the animation intense work that you would need to do in a first person game that you don't need in an isometric game like that, you can see where they had to trim certain things back. So you don't have companion skill attributes. You have like skills, which are abilities. You have abilities, but you don't have attributes like might and constitution like you do in your Pillars games. You don't have gear for the companions or anything like that. You don't pick their class. They are what they are. And there are some ways that they had to pare it back because this is a first person game. It is not that grand party based RPG, and that's okay. I think that that's not what they're aiming for here. And I think that what they did bring over from the Pillars games is that it's basically if they took Pillars and said, what if it's you, but in 3D, and all of that's the same. So you have all of your might and your attributes, might, constitution, dexterity. Yeah, go ahead.
And now, like I said, interjection with that, like for you, like what makes Pillars special? Like if someone were to come in, like obviously like the big selling point is like, yeah, this is an offshoot of the Pillars of Eternity universe. It's inside that universe, but it's its own game. But then like, and obviously like I found the book that says Pillars of Eternity, funny enough, like early on in that initial area. But like what makes Pillars special compared to like other RPG worlds?
What makes Pillars special is its world is very unique. I've never seen a world like this in fantasy games, because usually in a fantasy world you have your gods, you have your magic, you have your religions and your paladins and your priests and your continents and your races and all of that, and then they worship this and they worship that, and each god is powerful but they're not omnipotent and all, you know, that stuff is very standard. But in Pillars, what's really fascinating is this idea of the wheel. And the wheel is essentially reincarnation. And so in the Pillars world, souls are reincarnated constantly. They're always being reincarnated. And it's not necessarily a human soul to a human soul. Animal souls reincarnate into humans sometimes. So you could have had a past life as a deer or something like that. And it's very interesting to have that concept, because the opening of Pillars and the baseline of the original Pillars games is that you're a watcher, and the watcher can see other people's souls. It can see souls in the world. It can read souls in living people. And that is a fascinating concept. And that's not something I've ever seen in another fantasy world. And maybe it exists somewhere that I don't know, but I've never seen it.
Yeah. I wouldn't be the one to like, fantasy is more in my route, like outside gaming in some ways, and so I wouldn't be able to tell you like how generic, because I know that was like one of the criticisms that I read like especially in Travis review, like his big thing is that he says that in this game he's seen a lot of this in other games, so it didn't feel
Yeah,
as
you
special.
do.
So,
That's because the basic plot of what's happening is not a super extremely exciting plot. I think I say that it's an interesting plot. It is, and it keeps you going. It's a good thrust to get you through the game. But what really gets you through is realizing that if you're discovering the things that you think you're discovering, that is crazy sauce. Like that is like banana balls crazy for the world here and what it means for the world. Because if you know the world of Pillars and you know the gods and you know the souls and you know the history of the world and you know all these things, the discoveries that you're making have really huge ramifications. And I think that's really cool. So for me, as someone who knows Pillars and Deora, the world that this all takes place, that's what draws me in, and that's what really makes this special is the souls and the use. So in the world of Eora and Pillars and Avowed, there's this science, and it is a science called animancy. And animancy is the manipulation of souls. There's an entire science, a field, a profession, an area of study based around literally manipulating the actual souls of creatures. I'd never heard of that in another game before. I think that's really cool. And then there's levels of politics involving how the world is treated, how the animancers are treated, and that plays into Avowed as well. In that in your home country of Adir, animancy is outlawed. You're not allowed to practice animancy. And so you know what it is. You've studied it a little bit because if you're a scholar, or you've heard of it because it's a thing, but you're not probably the most familiar with it because your country doesn't allow it. But then when you move into later parts of the game, you start just meeting animancers, and they're like all about it because they're from countries in the world that are politically all about the animancy and all about the studying of souls and the manipulation of souls. And so that world is so different from anything else that's what draws me into Pillars and why I really was excited for Avowed. And so as we've said, Avowed is the first person game instead of this isometric CRPG, but they do a great job bringing over the feeling, and this is where we got a little off track of what I was trying to say before, is they do a great job of bringing in that I am playing this character feeling into Avowed. You play as a specific character, the envoy of the Emperor of Adir, but how you approach things, what your positions are on things, what your opinions are, even on the Empire itself. You could be the Emperor's envoy and secretly hate your Empire if you really want to. Like you can constantly take actions that go against the Empire's interests if you so choose, because they make that available to you. And I think that's one of the things that Obsidian has always done really well, is give you that choice of how do you want to respond to things. And I think that they also do a pretty good job, and it's not the best job. There are definitely like crazier changes that happen in other games that they make based on your choices, but there are huge things that can happen if you choose to do something or don't do something. Just an example without a spoiler, there's one point where something crazy happened, and I was like, wait a second. If I had done this thing that I knew about but I forgot to do before I progressed the story, would that crazy thing have happened? And I went and I asked the developers, because I was in a Discord chat with everyone, for bugs and questions as part of the review process. And they were like, oh yeah, if you did that, that wouldn't have happened. I was like, oh, I'm going to go and do that then, because I don't want that to happen, because I knew about it. It's not like I forgot about it. I didn't know it existed. I just forgot about it before I progressed the main story. And there's huge consequences for that. And then other things like characters can die that you don't want to die, or become infected with the Dream Scourge, or you can lie to people that make them unhappy, or destroy things that you don't otherwise want destroyed. There's a lot of moment to moment decisions that you make that will impact the characters and the world itself.
And also I did the first kind of deep conversation you can do with a companion, like when you find one of those like crystals, and then you set up like camp.
Yeah, those are pillars of Adra. Those are the pillars of eternity.
Sweet. good to know. That like you can have long conversations, like with that, like a lot of them. That was like, holy crap! There's so much that I can ask him, like that, and just can like go and down the rabbit hole. It's like there's so much writing in this game, which is, of course, it's Obsidian. It's like the thing they know best for, and that's like that shines a lot in like what I've seen, like from its intro and like in some of the little questing. So
they do. I do think the writing is really good, and you're right. You can dive deep into these characters, and there are 4 companions. They've been open about that. They've never hidden the companions. There's 4 of them, They're all really, really cool. They're not all perfect. Obviously, they have their pros and their cons, but they're charming and they're quirky and some like they all have their own quirks. They all have their own personality. You can ask them all these different questions. I'm a little unsure about the level of companion quests that exist because I did do some companion quests. I don't know if I did all of them. I don't know if there were some that I missed or something. Some of them seemed a little bit more fleshed out than others, if that's the case.
Yeah, I've heard. Know. Yeah, I've heard that social linking with them is very minimal.
There's no relationship building. It's literally just these are your companions. They're in the camp. You can talk to them and get to know them, or not talk to them and not get to know them. It's totally up to you. It's not going to impact anything in the game, and I think that's okay. I don't think that you need to have heavy social links with all of your characters. I think that if you want to do a quest with them and get to know them, that's fine, but it's also fine to just have them around as people who shoot spiders with you. Like that's okay too, and not have that be detrimental to the game itself, because whether or not you know anything about these characters doesn't impact the story. It doesn't really impact anything as far as I've been able to tell, but it's player's choice. And if you like writing in games and you like Obsidian's writing in games, then you're going to want to have the camp conversations with the companions there. You're going to want to talk to Kai, who's the first companion you get, voiced by Brendan Keener, Garrus Vakari in Mass Effect. And you want to have those conversations and learn about him and his history. And, you know, when you meet your other companions, you want to talk to them too, because they're all curious. You're curious about all of them, and you want to see. And one of the things that I really appreciated about the companions was their involvement in the game, because as I had mentioned in my Dragon Age review, which I know we talk about Dragon Age all the time, but when I did Dragon Age, the companions are tangential. Like you go and talk to them in the lighthouse in Dragon Age, and then you really don't, like, they'll have their banter out in the field, but they don't matter to the story until the final act at all. And in this game, in Avowed, you're just constantly having the companions chime in, and it's not like, what do you think, Kai? I mean, you can do that. There are opportunities where you can say, what do you think, Kai? You'll just be talking to a companion or to an NPC, and Kai'll just say something. And if Kai wasn't there, you wouldn't say that. It would be one of the other companions if they were there saying it. And that's really fun. Like, I like that level of companion involvement in the game. I don't entirely miss the lack of customization for the companions because, well, let me put it this way. There's a lot of companions in Pillars games, a lot of companions, and they're all fully customizable. It's almost too much. When I was playing Pillars 2, I had like 20 tabs of just builds for classes for all of the companions so that I could build them properly, and that was a lot, and that's not in this game. So you could have had 4 companions like this and then had an extensive skill tree and all of that for 4, because I think that would have been an okay balance compared to the like 12 that you get in Pillars or whatever. There's a lot, and not just main companions, but they have like side companions as well, called sidekicks, that are fully companionable but don't have a story attached to them. So I think that they did their best to bring this in line with what you would expect from a first-person kind of RPG, where you still have your companions, and they're really useful. That's another thing I want to say. In combat, they have really good combat abilities, most of them, and even when you're not using their abilities, they're still doing damage. Like, I'll just go over and I'll be like aiming up a shot, and I'll pull the trigger, and before the bullet hits, that they're dead because Kai smacked them down.
Real quick, there's a way for you to control what they do, or they just act on their own, like on their own.
They act on their own, but you have abilities that you can tell them to use. Exactly the same way Dragon Age works. You can tell them.
Cool. It's funny. It has that wheel that when you press the L1, it'll be. I'm playing on the Xbox controller. You did it on the PlayStation controller. The L1, it'll be that pulls it up. So I was like, okay. And I only have that one ability that it's like you have a shield that you can like bash to kind of like break the to break the defense of someone. Now, real quick, one of my gripes that I had early on is that if you fight a bunch of enemies, I feel the combat kind of gets really messy. That you start getting hit it's very hard to like really see where you're gonna get hit from, to the point where I started playing it in third person because I needed to see. I needed to kind of see that. It was like, okay, why am I getting hit? Like, where am I getting hit from? I need to see where like I'm getting damaged from. So
it does get a little messy. Like, you can get a little overwhelmed. Part of it is you have to be careful of gear level, because the gear level is the most important thing. Your own character level means basically nothing. The most important thing is the gear level that you're wearing and what quality level they're up to. So you're gonna feel a little overwhelmed, and also you do eventually get 2 companions. So if you were playing by yourself or with one companion, you're gonna feel a little overwhelmed because some of the companions have crowd control abilities. Kai has a taunt ability that will like grab attention of a whole group of
who's the big green guy? I have the big green guy.
Kai. That's
Kai. It's cool. Oh,
right?
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
That's Garrus. You don't recognize Garrus' voice from Mass Effect?
I knew that I recognized it from somewhere. I haven't played Mass Effect in so long to remember that was kind of like the voice. I didn't have kind of like that sci-fi raspiness.
Yeah, it didn't have the ting, the metallic ting. Yeah, so that's Kai. He's got a taunt ability. When you level him up, you can select the abilities that the companions have. You start with just like this gunshot ability that he has, but another thing you can unlock is a taunt. And the taunt, he does like this falling attack, and it's a circle around him, and it will taunt everyone in that. That can be really useful. And then honestly, sometimes you just have to run. Sometimes you just got to run and look. And I found it funny that you said that you found magic to be the most interesting part, because I typically play Pillars games as a wizard, and I started as a wizard, but I found that the magic in this game was so awkward to control.
Because you don't like, this is a funny fact, I know what you mean. The cooldowns, right?
It's a little bit the cooldowns, but it's also awkward to just aim your stuff in certain areas. It's weird. Even on the mouse and keyboard where I played, I think I played probably half and half. I played a lot of time on the controller sitting over there because I got tired of sitting in the chair here. But even when you have it, it's just Pillars games traditionally have a pause and play function, which you can pause in this game. You do pause when you are selecting your health potions and all that. And you can pause when you're selecting learned wizard spells. But if you're playing as a wizard and you're playing with the Grimoire, I assume you have a Grimoire.
Yeah, I have like the one and the Grimoire here to the left. So I'm like doing this.
So when you're playing with that book, to cast spells out of that book, it doesn't pause. That's all real time. And you want to use the Grimoire because it will cast a spell more efficiently. It's like way less essence, which is mana. It's way less essence to cast a spell out of the Grimoire. And then also, when you learn a spell on the wizard tree, if it's also in your Grimoire and you cast it out of the Grimoire, you cast that spell at a spell slot level higher, basically. Cool. So if you're Fan of Flames, the first fire spell you have, it's just one hand you're casting fire, right?
Yes.
But if you learn the spell in your wizard skill tree and then you cast it out of the Grimoire, you cast it with 2 hands.
Ooh, kind of like in Skyrim back in the day. Yeah.
So it just enhances it. So Fireball, the same kind of thing. It's just one circle. If you do it out of the Grimoire at the 2nd level, then it's a bigger circle.
Yeah. How's the gun combat? Because I remember seeing a clip with the gun,
So
is it viable?
I actually ended up switching to a fully ranged character. I had magic on the side. I loved using my spells and everything. But by the end, I was a ranger. I was a gunshot wielder. And so I started with the bow, and you're right, the bows are great. You said earlier the bows feel really good. I really like the bow. And then I killed this bounty target that dropped this electric pistol where every shot I fired on the pistol dealt shock damage. And I was like, that's really cool. Let me give that a shot. So I equipped that instead of a wand or a sword or anything, and I put a shield there. And I used a shield and a pistol. And I was like, this is really cool. And the reason it's cool is because you don't have to worry about drop off. The bullets don't drop off like arrows do. And it's also more powerful than a bow can be sometimes. Not always, but the other thing is it is slower to reload. That's really the downside to it, is that it has to reload. And so it's a little bit slower, but it's much more accurate, I felt, because you don't have the drop to account for. And it's not so slow that you're concerned.
It makes sense.
And then I played with that pistol for a really long time, pistol and shield. And then I got this one arquebus. Arquebuses are basically single shot rifles. They're long guns. They are 2-handed weapons though. So if you're shooting the arquebus, you don't have a shield, you don't have a grimoire, you just have that gun. I fell in love with it. I loved that arquebus. I used that from probably the middle of the 2nd area or end of 2nd area all the way through the end of the game when I got like the super duper legendary arquebus, and I switched to a higher arquebus, like a different arquebus level, and it was it's ridiculous. It's just so much fun because you deal so much damage to the characters if you hit them in their weak spots. Because the cool thing with the ranged is that when you zoom in, you'll see, when you aim down sights, you zoom in, you see the weak spot target pop up, and then you can just boom, weak spot, and then you hit them, and it's always a crit if you hit them in it. And the ranger tree has abilities that allow you to slow time down when you're zooming in. So I use 25% for most of the game, and then at the end I had an extra skill point and I put it into 50%. But you can slow time down up to 75% while you're shooting the gun, like aiming that gun. And it's really cool that it works that way, and it works really well. So I ended up being a ranger for most of my damage, and then the other thing was a sword that I got really early on and a shield that I liked for a while, and then I eventually swapped that sword out for a mace that was really cool because it cast when you did a finisher or something else. It was if you did a finisher or something else, you could cast this spell called Pull of Aora, which is basically like a giant gravity well that pulls enemies in and like groups them up for you, and then you could like light them up with a big fireball or something all at once. That was really fun. So I switched over to that one. So yeah, the combat feels really great. The sound effects are really good as well. The sound effects really make you feel that impact, like you were saying earlier. It is not the best, kind of ever, but compared to what a lot of people were concerned with when they were first showing it off, they spent a lot of time making it feel really good. And I really enjoyed the feeling of fighting.
Yeah. I know you said don't play in first person. I did third person just to, I mean, don't play in third person because do first person. And I kind of see that. I have to give props though, because I did try Starfield in third person. Obsidian did a better job at making third person at least play slightly like better and something that can reasonably like work. Like in fact, like melee combat actually feel works better in first person and third person, because if you're doing like shield and the sword, I feel the shield really blocks too much the view for me. Like like to my liking, I feel like they didn't.
Don't play Kingdom Come Deliverance then.
Yes, I know. But I feel it was more obtrusive in what I played of Avowed than I did in the brief time that I tried Kingdom Come. I wanted to try Avowed first because it's gonna be a shorter game from like what I know, and and I like kind of like climbing from like the quote unquote weakest to the best one. I don't like going from the best to worst. Like I usually go the opposite way. But what I played about I've liked so far. But I know that was kind of like the thing. Like okay, third person, there's like a viability to that that gameplay style.
Yeah, I don't say that it's not viable. I ran around in it, and it just, you can tell it's a second thought. It's it's a background thought for them to do it, and they only did it because people like need it in there, because there are people who can't play first person games. Because if you look at the review that I did on Season Gaming, you can see it on the Season Gaming YouTube channel, the footage of it. The first person looks really cool, it looks really fun, but the third person, it's one of the things where the character's like running, but when they go sideways, they're like sliding sideways, and they're like it looks like they're on skates. It's very like Oblivion, Skyrim, kind of.
But the thing is, I didn't feel it was too much skating, especially like I felt there was more skating feeling, and kind of like there's a delay in movement.
No,
more
not the
in like
feeling.
Starfield.
It just looks like it's skating. It's literally just an appearance. You just look like you're sliding around. It doesn't feel like it because they did a good job in the feeling. But when you're looking at it, your character just looks kind of silly.
Yeah, I would say I do like when I'm like in the outside, like when it's best, I just like being in the third person to kind of like take it all in. And then when I go like inside a house, there's a good thing if you hold the right stick. That's how you can get into first person, like on the fly.
Or on the keyboard, it's the U button. The U key.
And
that's good because I know in earlier builds, preview builds, you had to go into the menu to swap to first person and third person. So they did put it on a key.
Yeah, that's bad. I'm glad that they allowed that, because at least you can kind of switch it around. And it kind of like I told you, I needed to go into third person when I got overwhelmed, because I was like, where the frick am I getting hit here? Yeah. And now negatives. Like I know obviously you mentioned like you had plenty of crashes in your reviews. Like
I had 36 crashes to desktop according to the game's own crash log, because I went into the folder, because when I was talking with the devs on it, they had asked me for a crash log so they could look into it. I don't know what caused it. They didn't know what caused it. It happened over and over, and it literally just said fatal error. It never had an error code. It never had it just said UE Alabama, which I guess was their background name or whatever. It just said UE Alabama has crashed and will close now, fatal error. And it happened so many times. Now on the keyboard, what was nice when I was playing at the PC is F5 is a quick save, just quick save, quick save, quick save. I was constantly quick saving.
There is no quick save on console, unfortunately.
I know there's no quick save on console, so I would just regularly pause manual save, because when you're on controller, there's no quick save at all. So I would switch over to the controller and go and play on my TV, and I would just pause and I would just pick a manual save, and I would make that manual save the equivalent of my quick save, which takes time. It's annoying, you have to pause and do it and all that, but you have to save a lot, especially because you never know when you're going to come across a dialogue check that you want to reload or
because you like saves coming to just see what like if you get the right choices or like how different it can go, right?
Yeah, I mean, also just like sometimes you don't know that you even have an option. Like sometimes there's a lot of equipment, there's a lot of loot in Avowed, and some of the loot has skill points or attribute points attached to it, so you can add like +3 intellect or +2 to might. And you can add these things just based on what your gear loadout is. And if you know it going into a conversation that you're going to have a skill check, you just swap your gear out really quick and you can get the dialogue check. And to me, that's fun. I don't find it fun to be like, I have it right here. And I'll be honest, there were like 3 times I just totally respect myself so that I could get enough points to get something when I was like 1 point away. But most of the time between the food and the gear that I had, I could just buff myself up just as a quick reload to do it. So yeah, that's the reason to save. But yeah, there were bugs. There were some weird visual glitches. There's one that's post, like I don't know what I'm allowed to say about it. I couldn't show anything about it, but there's one like mid-late game area where I was talking to this character, and the character was just, the model was just stuck in this constantly spinning wheel. And it didn't impact the conversation. It was just watching this model happen. I was just like, what is happening right now? Why is this character in this wheel? And it almost hurt my eyes. This is how weird it was to look at. So like weird visual glitches like that. One of the companions, who's a dwarf, his lips were so overemphasized when he would talk. It was like he was talking like this. It was so funny to watch.
That happened to me with the first boss character you fight in
did it?
Yeah, he was like moving like this on the Order Express. I was like, what the frick is happening here? So.
Yeah, so there are some weird glitches like that. I know that there were a number of broken quests that I ran across. Like occasionally, one quest I didn't it was like, do this thing and then I'll give you a key to this chest, and it was like, thank you for helping me, but the only thing I have to offer you is the stuff in that chest, but you already took that. I'm like, no, I didn't loot your chest. I couldn't. It didn't even have a lock picking option. I didn't steal your stuff, so I didn't get a reward for that. And then other things like Kai at one point was like, why did you lie to that person? Like, what was your thinking there? I was like, I didn't lie. I told the truth. What are you talking about?
Something like that happened to me, like in Starfield, similarly, where like there was like a scripting error that the character was like asking me things that I didn't say or do. So it's like, it's so funny that those things can happen.
Yeah. So there's some little things like that. Honestly, the broken quests are the worst part of it, because like one quest I wanted it to go a certain way, but I couldn't, because if you went one way, the guy was dead, and the only way to end the quest was to talk to him twice for some reason. And so if he died, I couldn't do it, and then there was no way to end it, unfortunately, without going about it the way that I wanted to.
And now were there any other negatives that were not technical that like you did that you didn't like?
Most of my negatives are technical. I think that it would have been nice to have a few quality of life things. Like there's no map markers. You can't mark anything on the map yourself. So if you forget where something is, you're never going to find it again. Like that would have been really useful to have. I do wish that the compass was a mini map more than just a compass with stuff on the bottom, like I was talking about when we were talking about Eternal Strands. It's on the top, actually. I wish it was like a full mini map. I always love mini maps. I think they're really cool, and I think they're very helpful. Yeah, it's mostly quality of life things that I think. I found the upgrading system of the weapons to be really cool, and it's very similar to, I mean, not even similar, it's exactly the way that upgrading weapons was in Pillars, except you're only doing it for you. I did find that I felt like I was running short of things sometimes, and maybe it's because you have certain things, so like guns use wood to upgrade, but if you, and something else. It's like they always need two things basically. And so guns need wood and the plant, I guess, to upgrade. And if you're only upgrading guns, or you're upgrading guns and you're upgrading wands and a shield, all three of those need wood. There's only so much wood in the game, so you will find yourself short supply of certain things if you're overly relying on it, I guess, is the way it works. For me, like, I always had a ton of metal, I always had plenty of leather. The only thing leather is used to upgrade is your armor, and I really stuck with one thing of armor I got in like the second zone, and I never changed the armor out ever after that, because it was great. It was exactly what I wanted.
Yeah. I got the first quest for you to upgrade your first piece of armor. They kind of go to like a house to get like the material. So
yeah. So that was just, it's really just quality of life things, little quirks. I actually really liked that the enemies didn't respawn when you did things. I thought that it was cool because you really felt like you were solving a bandit problem or something like that. It would have been nice for monsters to show up because, you know, monsters, they're wildlife. They're all over the place. So that would have been a little bit more understandable if you would have like the bears would come back, or the enemies. But yeah, you're really, and the funny thing is there's no ludonarrative dissonance in the enemies you're killing. Like, I feel like, oh, I killed a bunch of enemies and these were people and they're dead now. You know, they're part of the Dream Scourge and they're dead. And they're not coming back. And so you don't feel like you're destroying cities worth of people every time you walk back and forth between an area, which is cool. I like that feeling because it is immersive. It does eventually lead to the world feeling a little bit barren, but that's because you killed the enemies and you took care of the problems, like that sort of thing. The fast travel system is really good. I would have appreciated a little bit. There's one zone that you don't have a mini map to fast travel into. The very last zone, you don't have a map, not a mini map. You don't have a map to fast travel into the city in that zone. And that was weird. It was like a 2-minute run or a 1.5-minute run from either fast travel point, which is really far away for some reason. So there are some weird quirks like that. But overall, I really don't have any major criticisms of it. And any criticisms I did have, you can find in my review at Season Gaming, because I was pretty thorough in there. I really loved this game. I am very grateful to Obsidian and Xbox for the opportunity to review it, and obviously to Ains at Season Gaming for falling on his sword and giving me this one when I know he wanted this one, but he also wanted Kingdom Come, and he didn't get Kingdom Come, but I did get Avowed, and so I got to review it. So I'm really grateful for that opportunity, and obviously to Elliot for
the editor. He did a great job with that one.
For the video edit. He did a phenomenal job with it. Check out the review on the Season Gaming YouTube channel. It's uploaded now. It's in 4K. I played the whole game in 4K. No upscaling. It should look as good as it can get. I don't think it can look any better than what I have it. I mean, maybe they patched it, made it look even better or something.
Yes, I don't know, or it looks worse because sometimes they want patches works things. But on the technical side, because I'm playing it on the Series X, I'm playing it on the performance mode, and of course it's an Unreal Engine 5 game, so that means that.
Are you on performance 60 or performance 40?
Performance 60 because I don't have a 120 TV.
Okay. Okay.
But I do have a 240 hertz monitor that I could kind of try that, but it doesn't have all the bells and whistles. So, but I'm playing on the performance mode that it drops all the way to 1080p because it uses the nanite and lumen tech of Unreal Engine. That is like it blows up kind of like the lighting effects and kind of like the way like global illumination happens, and that kind of like really taxes the resolution. I would say, despite the fact that it's 1080p, other than the griminess that you see in the hair and some foliage, it looks pretty nice and runs shockingly well for a mode that I know wasn't in the cards originally, because this game was only gonna run at 30. I did try the quality mode at 30. It runs it solidly so far. I just felt it a little too sluggish in the controls. I was like, I'll take the hit. I'll take the visual because it doesn't look that bad. Like moving in the performance mode. Besides those aforementioned Unreal Engine 5 problems, and I feel like it feels very technically solid so far there in console. I know.
Even with the bugs and crashes, because it's a big game. There's a lot of conditionality and things, so I understand bugs in that case, and even visual glitches are fine. The crashes are unacceptable. I said that in the review. It's unacceptable for me to have crashed that many times, but
it dropped your score from what you wanted to do.
It did. I mean, it did. I would have given this game a 9 easily. I really thought it was so well written and it was so fun to play. And there was a little bit of a time crunch, so I would have enjoyed to have more time to spread out over it. But even still, I really loved this game, and I would have given it a 9 if I had not had so many technical issues. Because there were points playing it where I'm like, this could be like higher than a 9 under
Hmm.
the right circumstance, but unfortunately, it wasn't. But I do agree that outside of those glitches and actual like fixable issues, I think I saw maybe like a dozen stutters over my 60 some odd hours playing the game. Like it really didn't stutter.
Hmm.
Uh, I had it above 60, I think, the whole time. And again, my PC is a 4090 and a
Yeah, so you have high end, highest of high ends.
13900K and i9 all that. So like it is a high end rig here, but I didn't run any upscaling. I had all the settings at max, and even in the cities, and the cities are populated, and the parkouring in the cities is really fun. There's a lot of magic spell effects and everything. There's a lot. There's a lot to the game, and they did a really solid job here. I was very impressed with them, especially if memory serves. I think the Outer Worlds had a lot of bugs and a lot of broken parts to it originally.
uh it had a few, but it wasn't known. Like kind of like for that, it was still kind of like pretty solid. I know that older Obsidian games, like for example, I know it's super beloved now, but people forget that New Vegas was a mess at launch,
Yeah.
like really messy, like with weird bugs that if you were wearing like a cowboy hat at a specific point in time and enter like a stream, completely borked your entire game. So
Yeah.
it was that kind of messy. So but other than that, like at least on Xbox so far, it feels solid, but I'm very early, so I need to play more to see like if there's memory leaking or all of that. But I know like in Travis's review over at IGN, like he did mention that he played it on Series X, and that was one of his
Yeah.
positives, that it was like this is a shockingly well published like well polished
Yep.
game, like from
Yep.
what
I
they
saw that.
from what it expects, and I can kind of see that in that one. So
I also spoke with Luke over at Xbox Expansion Pass
mm-hmm,
separately, and he also played on Series X and had no crashes the entire time.
mm-hmm,
Nothing. I
yeah,
was I was DMing him about that separately just before the reviews went live out of curiosity, just to see if I was the only one, because I saw there were people with crashes in our chats that were discussing it, but I think
mm-hmm,
I was the only one that had the consistency of this crash. So I don't know,
mm-hmm,
maybe it was just me. Uh, I did like a driver rollback and everything, so it
yes.
wasn't the drivers. I don't know. We'll find out. If we see other reports. But I'm glad that the game has scored as well as it did. I think as long as it stays in the eights, I'd be happy with it, because for them as terms in terms of a score, because an 8 is a fair score for it. I
They
could
live
see
it
an
like
8 if someone didn't like the combat.
Obsidian lives in the eights. That's what's
Yeah,
funny. And I would say though this did score slightly lower than their last few games, which were Grounded and Pentiment, which were kind of like their experimental ones. This is more
yeah.
a traditional like Obsidian game, but yes, it's still kind of like anything that's 80 or above that. Like I'm fine. What's funny is that I was gonna do a follow up question, and obviously because you would have scored this a 9, you like this better than Dragon Age, the Veilguard, but you score both the same. That's
I
kind of what's
did.
funny.
Honestly, Dragon Age the Veilguard was one of the most solid technical experiences I've ever seen.
Uh,
And it gets a Dragon Age bump. And I never hid that. I opened my
mhm.
bias up of that review. And,
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I would say if I was not a Dragon Age fan,
Mhm.
if you don't like Dragon Age, I think it's probably a 7.5, a 7 or 7.5 of a game. I don't think it is an 8.5 of a game for the objective. I know some people say there's no objectiveness
Mhm.
in a review, but if you were not going into it with my biases, I can understand someone not being as enamored with the lore and all of that stuff
I fell off because of that. So
right.
you have my
So I can
example.
understand that. And this game, I can say that even not caring about the lore, because I do care about the lore here, but I'm nowhere near about as invested in the Avowed and Pillars and Aora lore as I am Dragon Age. I think that even if you didn't care about that stuff, this game still offers a lot to the RPG fan. It's not, it may not appeal to the CRPG fan so much.
Mhm.
If you're the kind of person who only does the CRPG, this may turn you off a little bit because it doesn't have all those extreme, thorough details on all of the characters. But it does have it for your character, which is what was so cool. And I said in my review that when I saw that attribute screen, it made me giddy. I was genuinely giddy from seeing attributes, because I was like, I get to pick my attributes. I get to choose how my character like plays and feels, and that is something that you don't always get in an RPG like this. You don't always get
Mhm.
to pick that sort of thing. A lot of that is automatic or based on your class, and you'd have total freedom to do any of the class stuff that you want. You don't have to pick one. You can choose and reinvest and update and change anytime you want. You can, Alex, I don't know if you saw this when I said this, but you can even change your skills in combat. You can totally just reset your skills in combat.
Yes, exactly. That's the one where like if you have it charges the currency to like reset all
copper
of them, right?
skates, you can just both of them. You can just reset them in the middle of combat. Just I don't like this. I'm gonna reset. You can't do it in conversations, but you can do it in combat. It's so funny. Yeah. And so I did score this the same as Dragon Age. I do think it's a better game than Dragon Age is. I said that I agreed with Hogue when he said it's a good game. It's a bad Dragon Age game. It's a bad RPG. It's a terrible Dragon Age game. I think that this is a great game, and it's a great RPG, and it's a great Pillars game. And that last piece, being a great Pillars game, really took me by surprise, because I was concerned with the brightness and the colors, because there's a lot of darkness, and it's a very dark and foreboding world in Pillars.
Even in the little that I saw Pillars, it's kind of like striking how like different the style of this one is, right?
And they wave it away with saying this is the Living Lands. This place is crazy, it's colorful, it's wild here. And I think that makes sense, because everything you read about the Living Lands in Pillars, if you read anything about it, says that it's a crazy place. It's untamed and it's wild, and I could see it being that way. And so that was okay for me. And then I remember when they did the re-reveal in June of 23, and we were, obviously I was watching Bitcast, and I wasn't a writer for Season Gaming. It wasn't until a year later that I started writing for them. But I super chatted to the Bitcast and said to Travis about it, because Ty Travis on the show was talking about how he didn't get what everyone was so upset about. And I was like, this is what people are upset about. And he like said, yeah, but we don't know yet, essentially. And I was like, and he was right. We didn't know yet. And in the end, I think they kept the Pillars feel to it. It's still Pillars in its core. It's still Aora, and it's a great RPG.
And specifically for you, because you are a fan of Pillars. And like me, I'm approaching this as kind of like not in the same way that I approached Veilguard, in that I did finish Inquisition, but I just didn't play its DLC. So it's not like I was like completely blind, but I was just not as invested. I'm approaching this completely blind from a Pillars perspective, and so far.
Not completely. You played like 20 minutes of each.
Yes, but that's it's so minuscule that I wouldn't even qualify for me to like really know. And so at least I'm approaching this again as kind of like a fresh guy that I know many people will, despite the fact that Pillars is actually available everywhere in the Game Pass, and also like on PlayStation. You can. It was on sale recently, funny enough. So
play the Pillars games, people. They are fun games. They're not.
But play on PC.
Old. Pillars 1 is old. Pillars 2 is not quite as old, but still old. It's it's coming up on 8 years old. So they're both pretty old games at this point, but they're both still fun, and they're good games. If you like CRPGs at all, play the Pillars games, but you don't have to play the Pillars games to play Avowed. Play Avowed. It is well worth playing, even with no idea, because they do an excellent job of warming you up to the world with their version of an active time lore system in the middle of conversations, explaining things. I think Travis said they over-explain it in his review. There's a little over-explaining, but I think it's necessary, because Pillars is a complicated universe.
And it's a kind of game that on console is not the kind of game that people would like immediately like take to either. Like it's like it's very it's very specific.
People love Avowed on console. It handles great. It handles great even on console. It's a little even with controller. Obviously, I don't know the console, but even on controller, it does have fewer quick abilities. You only get 4 quick abilities instead of 6 quick abilities on the console, because you get 1 through 6 as a keybind. So you your quick spells on the D-pad, those are all available on 1 through 6 instead of 1 through 4. So it's a little bit more free on the PC with the mouse and keyboard, but it's going to be a game that people are going to enjoy no matter where they play it, because it is great. I really think it's great, and I think that the average person who likes Western RPGs will really enjoy this game, even without the Pillars background. And check out my review. Again, seasongaming.com. Check out the review. for all the thoughts on it. I know I talked a lot here, but I said even more there, if you can believe it. And the video is like a 16-minute long review. It's condensed, so all these thoughts in a more condensed fashion.
Yeah, just 5 minutes. Yeah, just 5 minutes longer than my Eternal Strands review. So, especially considering it's funny, considering this is a much denser game than Eternal Strands even is. So
I know Ains is a stickler for having my stuff be too long, so I try to keep it shorter if possible.
Yes, I know. Yeah, my thing is that if the game warrants it, sometimes I feel like you should kind of like break a little bit, like on those.
Oh, I definitely broke a lot for my Aura History Untold review. That was way longer than
that it really needed to be. Like,
no, I mean, it needed to be that long, but that was way longer than it was supposed to be. It needed that. I needed to explain all of those things. So.
Yes.
But yeah, check it out. I'm pretty proud of this. This was a big one for me, and I think that I did it justice. I think that I did Obsidian itself justice in getting this review and putting it together, and I think that the review itself is pretty high quality. So yeah, I know I'm a little biased on that one, but check it out.
No, it's a great review. Like,
thank you.
I don't joke to say that you have trash taste in specific things, but not here. Like that one was the one that I was like, I read it, I was like, okay, let me see it, let me start playing. I was like, yeah, I can kind of see some of this. I can kind of see both you and Travis's, like, especially since I know Travis really well.
Right, and you're so early though. Like a lot of the cool stuff that you get doesn't happen until you start unlocking bigger spells.
Exactly. And right now my hope is, I hope it keeps grabbing me. I hope that I don't fall off, and especially because me personally analyzing myself, it's wild how much I fell off of Western RPGs. I don't play that kind of game. Like, regardless of what it is, like for some reason, like my mind really switched off to all action or Japanese like centric games that I feel like, man, it's like there's so many that are in that kind of pile of shame games that are Western RPGs, ironically, that I could like play, but I know because they're so long also that kind of like deters me. This one being like, sometimes you need one. I've always learned that sometimes you need that one that you can kind of finish to start the snowball or like avalanche to kind of get you like flowing.
And I know you're a very completionist kind of person, so you could still take a long time on it.
Exactly. So knowing that a completion is kind of like in 60 hours, the thing that would stop me from doing completionist here is because it's achievements, not trophies. So that helps it. That helps.
Honestly, I haven't even checked. I have to go and check what my achievements look like because the achievements were not live for. Xbox. They were live on Steam, but I had the Xbox version Ains. So I don't know exactly what achievements. Oh, okay. I just updated it so I can see my achievements here. I have 315 out of 1,000.
Yeah, so you barely and you say you did a completion, so you barely.
I mean, I did all the quests. The only things I didn't do quest wise were a couple of treasure maps that I didn't really care.
Yeah,
about.
so like you did the substantive stuff, and you're just missing kind of like the collectible / ancillary stuff, basically.
I mean, I did the collectibles too. Like there's a collectible thing of like totems that you collect in the game. I got all the totems. There's 4 totems and there's 7 pieces per totem, so I got all the totems. Like I did all that. There are a lot of things I did. I don't even know how to check what achievements I have. I don't know Xbox stuff.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like I feel like at least the same thing that happened. Like, for example, I can't wait for Indiana Jones to hit PS5. I can't wait because that game is like a collectathon heaven. In the things that I like. But I didn't want to do it on Xbox because I don't like achievements like the trophies. So if this was like, obviously, like, because everything's a red line, I'm expecting this game is going to come over to PS5 at some point. I can imagine I do the completionist run there. I just want to finish this game and feel like I like it and get back into kind of like the groove of liking a Western RPG, because I've been so Japanese pilled lately that I'm like, oh man, it's like, that feels like a blind spot for me. And I know, like, especially that over at our site, it's like, a lot of the people there grew up with like Western RPGs, so it's kind of like it's the one thing that I don't feel as connected with because of how I grew up and the things that I kind of prefer. So that's what my hope as I keep playing about. So far, at the very least, I wouldn't say I'm impressed, but I like it.
Like 2 hours,
Exactly. I like it enough that I'm gonna keep trying to play it. Besides this other stuff that I didn't mention that I cannot mention until in 2 weeks. So that's kind of like where my mind is right now.
Could it be?
Yeah, whatever could it be, right? So, but yeah, that's Joe's spiel for the review for Avowed. You can go read his full review. I'm gonna link it beneath in our description, both video and both the video review and the written review. And Joe, read us the release dates for the week of February 16 to February 22.
All right. February 16th to February 22, we have Lost Records Bloom and Rage Tape 1 coming to PC, PS5, Xbox Series X and S on February 18th.
And
That's
PS
from
Plus.
Don't Nod. Those are the
yeah,
people who made the original Life is Strange, which is phenomenal, and also Life is Strange 2, which is awful. So roll the dice.
exactly. And on PS Plus, and on the PS Plus Extra Games
Yes.
catalog.
Yep, and on the PS Plus Extra Games catalog. That is correct.
Mhm.
We also, on that same day, have the full release of Avowed for PC, Xbox Series X and S as a Game Pass release. That
Mhm.
is the one for the everyday average buyer, not the
Mhm.
premium purchaser, and also Game Pass availability.
Mhm.
We have HPL Nyarlathotep Rising on PC
Freak is
coming
this?
on February 19th. I don't know. And then we have
Uh,
Die in the Dungeon coming February 21st. And then we have A Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii on PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series S, and X on February 21st.
And
The review
demo,
embargo for that lifting on February 18th, which
literally like when everything else releases. And
Yes.
the demo available right now. And if you're interested in About, you can pay the $24.99 for the digital like the premium upgrade, and you can start playing now. So earlier today there was like a slight discount. It was like 22 something. So like by the time you listen to this, if you're interested, you missed out on saving $2. But yeah, if you want to start playing it, it's like a full 5-day early access. I feel that kind of early access is actually pretty worth it at that price. So I'm gonna keep playing more of that. And with that, we reached the conclusion of back to our media episodes of the X Bottom, but this one was kind of like justified because of state of play. Joe, where can people find you?
You can find me at Joseph_La_Russa on Twitter. You can find my review of Avowed on Season Gaming's website, seasongaming.com, and you can find the video version on youtube.com/seasongaming. And that's pretty much it. I don't have anything else exactly in the hopper right now. We'll find out what I work on next.
And let me add his editorial on what happened with Dragon Age. That
Yes.
you kind of heard the spiel here. They heard the early spiel, and that became a full article. You can go read that also there. And you can find me at A_Segovia on Twitter, A_Segovia on Blue Sky, and my written content at seasongaming.com, where you can read my Eternal Strength review and my contribution to the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth PC technical review. And then we're still waiting on our top 10 favorite games of all time article that just feels like it keeps getting. The boulder keeps getting pushed because we have other content happening, but me and Joe contributed to that, so look forward to that. And what my next review will be, that's still kind of like in TBD mode right now, so we'll see what happens with that. And with that, we reached the conclusion to this week's episode. If you like what you listen and watch, give us a like and subscribe, and leave us a review on your podcast service of your choice. Thank you so much to whoever has been leaving the reviews on the Spotify and the Apple Podcasts. Highly appreciate that because that helps us in the algorithm. I like some of the listeners that I've seen kind of like that's still kind of ticking up again, and I like what I'm seeing like on YouTube. And we'll see you next week, same time, same place here in the X Bottom, and play some games and
press X
to play. Hasta la vista, baby.